And welcome everybody to episode 137. I can't talk. Of Fat Guys on the Podcast, February 23rd, 2021. We got a big show for you. Bill and I are going to go over our top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Strap in, folks.
The only one that probably argue with us will be Gabe, but everybody else will be like, yeah, okay. But then we all got some very
What
unique...
do you think Gabe would stray? Let me ask you.
Gabe's a little younger, so
that's what we stray a little, mostly Attitude Era.
Yeah,
I'm
thinking Attitude
stuff.
Era, and then maybe John Cena's era, the Ruthless Aggression era.
Wow, you think he'd bring in some of that?
He loves John. Well, Tyler, I know, loves John Cena.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so,
Wow.
yeah, they would have a lot younger wrestlers than probably Bill and I have. But, I don't know, maybe Bill's got
we at least need
Kenny Omega on his list.
From
I don't
now
know.
on, we need to start bringing any kind of like hardcore wrestling fan. We need to just at least give their Mount Rushmore out there just to get their top four.
Yeah,
just
before they even talk. So we're going to go over that. Got some unique taste tests this week. And we're gonna, speaking of wrestling, we're going to look at the Young Rock on NBC and a bunch of other stuff this week. But
because
starting
football's over, so we're going to go
Yes.
wrestling heavy, folks.
So hopefully next week, and this is what the prep for March Madness, we'll have our show on Tuesday again.
Did
hopefully.
Gabe agree?
Yeah.
Oh,
Gabe's down.
so he's down.
So we're going to have Gabe Wingington and the three of us, and we're all going to pick our own division. The Selection Sunday is this Sunday, right, Bill?
No.
When is it? Am I off?
I want to say it's a couple weeks. It's in March.
Oh, it's in March? I thought it was at the end of February.
Let me check it here.
I thought the Selection Sunday was the
March.
28th. Find out when Selection Sunday is, because we'll have to do it that Tuesday after the Selection Sunday.
That's if my schedule stays the same.
Selection Sunday is March 14th.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow. So we got a while. So, all right.
No prep for March Madness.
Yeah,
got
so
3 weeks.
we're not going to worry
Or
about
2.5
March
weeks.
Madness just yet.
What do
Now
you
we
got
have a
for the
date.
first game, BV? Just so we know we got timing wise. If we
The first four, which is Thursday the 18th.
okay, so we'll have.
Oh,
that.
it's weird. They're doing normally the first couple rounds are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It looks like this year they're doing Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday for the second round. That's a little weird.
Okay, but nonetheless, timing wise for the show, if we can keep the Tuesday shows going, which again can't make any promises, ladies. We can keep Tuesday shows going. We should be able to have selections Tuesday. We'll do our show to give our picks, and then we'll be ready to go for tip that Thursday. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
that's all working out.
But I thought it was sooner. I thought it was at the end of February. So obviously
He's
I was
getting
wrong.
jacked up. No, there's no sports. Just so you know.
Yeah. So all right. So also this week there was some big news that Texas froze to death.
Yeah,
And,
it's still in there. We talked about it a little bit last week, and they're playing the blame game, and it's getting crazy.
So there was one article that came out on Today Show. I'm an old man. I watch Today Show every morning. So
Who's on the Today Show at this point?
Hoda and some other girl that dresses terrible and Al Roker. Her name's Hoda, something like that. I don't know what the hell her name is. She was on the show with Kathy Lee Griffin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't she the?
Yeah, they used to pound wine all morning.
Yeah.
Well, she came to the Today Show, and Kathy Lee, I think, retired.
Oh, so there's no longer that Kathy and Hoda show?
No, I
anymore?
don't think so.
Okay.
I don't keep up on that one. I go to work before that comes on. So
Do they do it in front of like the
windows?
Yeah, that's what I'm
There's
asking.
nobody out there anymore.
Yeah,
but
I was
they
gonna
do
say,
do it in front
like
of
New
the
York's
windows.
been on hardcore lockdown.
But they were saying how people were freezing to death. They were running their cars and dying carbon monoxide poisoning. But then 10, 15 minutes later, there was another news article that in Texas that there's this giant aquarium right by the ocean. It's has electricity. They were going out and saving sea turtles and bringing them into this big warehouse to warm them up.
Wow.
Now, a sea turtle could swim south, but I just thought it was funny. They're saving sea turtles, and all the families around there are freezing to death. But we're going to put the turtles in the warehouse.
We secured the turtles.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that family of four, I got a lot of room here. I got a bunch of turtles. We just
Exactly. I thought it was so funny when that article popped up.
I don't know, man.
And of course, you've all probably heard it. Ted Cruz, to help his state, went on vacation to
Yeah.
Mexico. I love the fact he threw his daughters under the bus. I'm gonna do that to Holly.
And
if I
then
ever
did you
get
see
in
the
trouble.
text from the wife come out too? The neighbors'
Oh,
text
yeah,
messages
yeah.
and stuff. It is a bad look for that family all the way around.
My daughters made me. I'm gonna do that if I ever get in trouble publicly.
Yeah.
Holly made me do it. That's
Trying
the
to
first
be a
thing I'm
good
saying.
dad is
Yeah.
what he kept
You
saying.
you could just blame Lorna. I can blame Holly.
Dude,
We're
I
good
do
to
right now
go.
anyway. I throw her under the bus constantly,
Yeah,
just so we're on the same page.
So I think they're getting their power back, but they still have a big water issue down there. Like all the pipes burst and shit down there.
Did you guys? Johnny Oliver's back. He came back on the 14th. Yes. He had a big expose, or he does the kind of recent events early, and then his big deep dive stories in the middle segment. And he showed that in 2011 they had an issue with freezing infrastructure and all this kind of stuff, and Texas was supposed to correct it,
and they did.
Obviously, never did. Yeah, it was pretty good, and it was almost to the day. He said it was like February 18th to 18th. That's crazy.
So there you go. Help out. Any family members in Texas, send them some water and tell them to go to the aquarium.
Well, Ted Cruz is now
see the sea turtles because they'll be nice and warm.
Did you see Ted Cruz is now handing out water? He's back and he's giving out cases of water. Like,
that motherfucker needs to drive to Oklahoma.
You just went to Cancun and now
he's handing out tequila.
What is BV's thoughts on this? Have you seen any of that on Chicago? What do you got?
Yeah, it's a complete mess. And Ted Cruz, how does he still have a job?
They're going to reelect him again, I'm sure, or whatever.
Oh, they probably will, which makes no sense, but okay.
Crazy.
That's one creepy individual.
Yeah. So that's going down, and everyone's probably heard about it all week. So now this next news I put on because I know Bill he's a big snooker fan. We've covered on the podcast. And back in the day, I know he used to watch pool because there was a certain point at ESPN early 2000s where it was poker and pool all the time on ESPN in the off season. Janet Leigh, the Black Widow, even I know who
she is. Yeah,
yeah, 49 years
I met her
old.
once. She stayed in Livonia back in the day when I worked in Livonia.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's as gorgeous in real life, like an ageless chick. Yeah, really crazy. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, she's 49 years old and stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I hope she makes it through, but that was a bad news article. That
she always had that glove with the 2 fingers.
Yeah. That's what I need next time I play
Smoking
pool.
hot Asian chick, dude.
Oh yeah, she is, and unfortunately, hopefully
she's really goddamn good too. BV, I don't know if you can speak on it, but I think she's really good. Like she's one of those chicks that transcended her sport. I don't know, BV, got any thought?
Yeah. She wasn't always. I mean, she was one of the top players in the women's, pool circuit or whatever. But she was by far the biggest name. She was like the.
Who's the blonde chick that looked like Samantha Brown who always had the vest on? Who's the?
That would be Allison Fisher.
Yeah, she always went toe to toe with that chick. I remember that.
She was pretty much. I mean, Fisher pretty much dominated women's pool, but yeah, she was one of her main rivals. But yeah, Jeanette Leigh was by far the biggest, like box office attraction, if you could say, for that sport.
She was a hot Asian chick. That's why. Yeah.
So sad news. I hope she recovers, but stage 4 usually is not good news.
Yeah,
not a death sentence, though.
It's terminal. She's got less than a year to live. Oh. So she's not going to recover.
What was that, Charles?
I was saying.
Boy, you want to run that by me again?
Stage 4 is not always a death sentence.
You could have worse timing. All right, well, let's get away from that as we laugh at the woman's stage 4 cancer. We feel bad. We hope she recovers, but who knows? So we do have some NFL news this week. Carson Wentz,
pretty big NFL news,
is headed to the Colts with his ex-offensive coordinator there, Frank Wright, and looks like they gave up a 3rd-round pick this year and a 2nd-round pick next year. It seems like light to me. You think they?
Well, so McAfee. I'm sure you've listened to Pat McAfee about this. People are just destroying Carson Wentz, and I'm like, am I crazy that I kind of like Carson Wentz still? I don't know. I can't explain his recent drop off. I'm not here to, but like, I've never seen a league just turn so sour on someone that they were so hyped on, because that Super Bowl season that the Eagles had.
2017.
Yeah, but he led them that whole year. It was only up until the last second that Nick Foles stepped in. It wasn't like...
Yeah, he was an MVP candidate.
Yeah, like, did I miss something here? Like, I don't understand. And like Steve said, it seems like a very light price tag.
It's hard to hold it this season against him, because when Nick Foles came in, he was just as terrible.
Yeah.
The Eagles were just bad this year. That's all that was.
I mean, they're all going at him like he's a broken player and all this stuff. It just seems really harsh to me. I don't.
Well, I mean, the Colts are a pretty solid team, so they don't got to depend on him to win the game. I think he's a decent pickup for them. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't really know what I think of him as far as long term is concerned, but I think that the hate on him is way too overblown. So he's had some injury issues, right? But like you said, he was a legitimate MVP candidate when he got hurt during the season that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But like a lot of other quarterbacks that come with, some with less, but a lot of times with even more, more fanfare into the league, I would ask the question, how many different systems has he already been in his 3 or 4 year career? You add that to the injuries, it's kind of tough. I mean, when these guys come in and they're in, 3 systems in 4 years, it takes a while to kind of get, to get acclimated to a system and to master it. And, he comes back from those injuries and he's expected to be basically the savior of Philadelphia. And it was unrealistic. I think there's a decent chance that he's still going to, pull out a pretty good career. I'd be more worried about whether he can stay healthy than whether he's ultimately a good quarterback or not.
I think that's a valid critique. It's just because he's been riddled with some injury and stuff like that. And I don't know if you're moving away, but like, what's going on with so Seattle's looking to move Russell Wilson? Like, what the is going on there? Like, he is literally their entire franchise. Like,
they're taking calls, but
what?
Well, he had a whole pissing match, and he went on some kind of tour right after the Super Bowl. I don't know if it was a media tour or something.
Well, he was oddly way involved at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then he had a Men's Health article come out, and he kind of mentioned that, hey, I got hit a lot this year. He kind of shit on the team. And so, I don't know.
If I'm Seattle, like, whatever you need, boo. Like, I'm cool, man. Yeah. Like, he was their whole team. I mean, am I crazy? Am I overblowing Russell Wilson right now? I mean, he was expected worse than even Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay to do everything. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, so they're in a pissing match, and then Houston, of course, is still in a pissing match with Deshaun Watson. So we'll see if we'll keep informed if something happens, but.
He's got to have an awfully sore back.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's like literally. I mean, he basically was that entire team.
I can't even imagine why they're even having that conversation.
I'd be a little upset if I was him too. Got beat to hell and still is expected to pull out games every week for him.
They really need a running game again. They got no running game.
They need a lot.
A line, an offensive line,
and a better health and conditioning coach because they all got hurt of 2 years in a row. So, all right. Now, here's an interesting one.
Speaking of broke people.
Yeah. The NFL, as we all know, has contracts with CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN, which is /Disney. They're asking for 100% increase this year on all their contracts.
How are they? I can't even put it into words.
So,
how are they justifying this extreme?
Because they're the #1 show on all networks. When you look up the stats, the 5 most watched shows of last
all
year,
NFL football.
All NFL. Ooh. So, I didn't know, and this surprised me the most, is Disney pays the most for that, for the Monday Night Football, which is one of the worst games of the weekend. And they get, I guess they get exclusive highlight packages for Sports Center and stuff like
so
that.
it's wrapped into a whole
So
NFL
they pay $1.9 billion a year for that. Again, for the worst Monday Night Football that's been around in a while.
Here's the thing, though. Like, not whatever. Like, so college football had a very dire season this past year. Do you think that Monday Night Football might have floated a lot of that network? Is that what we're implying right now? Is that the thought? I mean, what does anyone think?
I don't know. They were bragging about ESPN Plus a couple months ago that it made some money and they might hike up the price. And ESPN's weird. I don't understand them.
But they cut
their staff constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
They're shuffling stuff constantly.
But then,
1
like
minute
you
they're
said,
broke. Next minute they're dropping $3.9 billion.
They're like your parents when you're growing up. Like, one minute Dad came home with a new car, and then you asked for $5 allowance.
Like, like, what? Get out of here.
Yeah, you got to pick away. What is your thought, BB?
Well, those owners have to, they have to make up for all that revenue they lost from, lack of fans this year. So I'm sure that's part of it. But the part that's interesting to me, I mean, when it comes to sports, NFL is really the only game in town. So, I mean,
the NBA would beg to differ, I would think.
Well, yeah, but I don't when you get down to like, consistent ratings, it's not even close.
Yeah.
But the part that I thought was interesting, because there's been some talk of a massive deal with Disney, that this would actually be good, I think, for everybody. The potential, and what I've heard some rumors of, is that they could actually, as part of that deal, transfer Sunday Ticket to Disney's platform and have that be rolled into ESPN Plus. Now they probably
They
still
want
charge
$1 billion
what they
for a
charge.
Sunday ticket.
Well, they would probably
$700
still charge a premium within ESPN Plus, but you wouldn't have that complete level of exclusivity that requires you to get DirecTV and overpay for that just for the right to get Sunday ticket.
What BV just said sounds amazing.
Yeah.
If I'm DirecTV, I think that
up.
DirecTV would literally go bankrupt. I think that DirecTV would fold because we've already talked at length. DirecTV is a weird thing right now. AT&T is kind of looking to move and do whatever. Like they gave up on Uverse, but then they're back with Uverse, and they're kind of giving up on the online thing. If they pulled the Sunday ticket, I would argue that DirecTV might fold at that point. I mean, maybe they're trying to play hardball with DirecTV. Like, I don't know.
Well, Disney's
it's interesting.
I don't know if you read the article.
No.
Disney's not eagerly paying that $3.8 billion. They're arguing with the NFL that their ratings are down and have been in decline for 5 years.
Oh,
they're still number one on everything, but
relative to
they're going down.
It's trending in the other direction.
Yeah, so they don't want to pay the $3.8 billion.
You got to justify. So you're my number one show, but you're not. You're not pulling away. You're getting closer.
The other four schlappies have already said, "Yeah, we'll pay it. Okay, here's the money." Disney's like, "Hold up, hold up. Your ratings are down." Everyone else is like writing a check already. And then they're like, "Huh? We're not supposed to pay." So I got a question for both of you. And this is what I truly feel. In 5 to 10 years, I believe the NFL, eventually these contracts will be too big. They're going to go to their own streaming platform. I fully believe that. And I think now let me ask you this, guys.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. I really think so.
I think that
they'll have all the TV profit stuff.
Ask your whole question because I have theories on what you just said.
So I think they're going to offer like a Sunday ticket where you got to pay $500 a season.
I agree.
They'll have a lower tier one where you'll get 2 games like you used to, and maybe the Sunday night game for like $200 a season, and then they may even have one smaller where you only get 1 game in the weekend. And then I think they're going to charge you separately for the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and that's going to be their streaming platform. And I am out if that happens. Would you guys be interested?
Here's
in
the problem: you've got a great product.
And they're still going to give you commercials, even though you're paying for it.
No, I think that would be a league suicide. Would be my opinion.
Yeah,
because we don't take into account how many people watch just the CBS, NBC, and the base. Like there are a lot of people in this world that love the NFL for being on that standard channel television.
Yeah.
Like, and won't watch the Yahoo thing that's going on, won't watch their weird Twitter thing and Amazon thing they got going on. There's a lot of people. So, yeah, there's some power users out there that are like, give me all the content you can give me. But I think that we're underestimating the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl because it can be on every television in America. Yeah. If you put that behind a walled garden, I do agree, though. I think that they would probably take it away from DirecTV. Like the ability to get the Sunday ticket would just come in-house. I think something like that's possible. But the whole league
what
would
did they
be
say,
crazy.
94 million people watched the Super Bowl this year? Was that it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let's say it's 100 million.
Yeah, okay. A third of American households.
If you only get half that to pay for $20 each on the pay-per-view, that's still quite a big chunk of change. And
I'm not arguing that.
You still sell the ads at $1 million at 30 seconds.
Steve, that's a lot.
That's
to go to a pay-per-view model for
eventually they're going to outprice the networks, and the networks we're not paying this anymore. Jeez. And then they'll say, "Well, we got our WWE network."
What do the networks have?
Baseball's
on it,
already
though,
have it.
Steve.
Basketball already has it.
No, but
hockey already has it. It's going to come.
No, they have that option. They don't completely put it behind.
It's going to be ridiculously overpriced.
What do we know? What does BV know on this scenario?
All right, so here's the I disagree that this is going in that direction, and for us, I agree it might also be suicide for the league, but the first thing that pops in mind when you talk about them pulling it all in house and start charging these premiums for it is, one, they already get ridiculous amount of money from the networks. And the networks provide all of the infrastructure for them to broadcast and send those games out through DirecTV. So you might get DirecTV, but you still have a full team of Fox announcers, crews that go prepare for and to show the games. You get them from Fox, you get them from CBS, you get them from NBC and ESPN. That entire infrastructure would have to be recreated.
I don't think in 2021 that's a huge cost, though.
Really?
Would be my opinion, yeah. I don't think
guys doing play-by-play in their living room.
Yeah, I don't think the production in 1995 that production's probably of several hundreds of millions of dollars. In 2021, I don't think it is.
Are you going to pay $500? You're going to pay
close
to
I'm
double
just talking about
to get reduced. I mean, the product they would have to put a lot of money into.
I don't think it's as much as you
providing the product.
I don't
because
they already have enough NFL, like the infrastructure with what the NFL does with NFL films and all that other stuff. I know what you're saying. CBS and NBC and Fox owns that equipment. But I would argue that the NFL could definitely harbor that cost if the profits, to Steve's point, were coming in the back door. You could easily put out let's say $100 million for the infrastructure initially, if the return on investment's like a season or two. I see what Steve's saying in that scenario. I don't think that would be the barrier to entry. I think you would lose so many eyeballs.
I agree with that too.
But you make it up by losing the eyeballs, but the eyeballs that are there are paying you.
Yeah.
I would point it in a slightly different direction. Instead of taking it all in-house and taking all this risk and banking on the entire U.S. to pay a premium to watch these games that they are used to watching for free and losing essentially the casual fan completely, they start to continue their relationships with companies like Amazon that they've already got set up with those certain rights
and
for
they sell the streaming to Amazon. That could be a
and
possibility
they start showing games that stream, and so I don't think it's like a full pull away from the network platform because, as Charles said, there's still a significant part of this audience that that brings the advertisers in and whatnot that are more casual fans, and they're not watch hardcore, and if they have to pay for it, they're really not going to watch it. But you can get these additional revenue streams that, and maybe someday they will price out the networks, but wouldn't you think they already would have?
Yeah.
The money comes from somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, at some point, that DirecTV model annoys the shit out of me.
Yeah,
that Sunday ticket needs to be brought into the NFL, and I need to pay the NFL to get that Sunday ticket.
You will on the new NFL streaming network for $500 a season.
It's the only of the big five sports that I have to go through a weird certain service and all that. That is so antiquated and so 10 years ago.
They'll save money because Kurt Warner will do every game.
and his wife.
You could charge a premium. You could charge a premium to the television providers and the streaming providers. You could charge them enough of a premium to carry the Sunday ticket that I think they'd end up making more money in the end than just having one exclusive deal with a company that's probably not going to sustain itself too much longer.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I would
that
spread
Sunday
it out.
ticket thing is bad.
I think in 5 to 10 years we're going to see football on a different
light. Steve. So put it out there right now. Call it right now. 5 to 10 years.
With
Steve
all
says
this streaming,
everything is in-house NFL is what Steve's
maybe
opinion.
not even in-house. Maybe like Bill said, they go to Amazon Prime. And, Prime has different membership. You can go to Amazon Prime now, and I can get AMC.
You want the football tier is what you're saying.
You want the football tier, and I guarantee that football tier is $500 a year. There's no way in hell it's not. And I guarantee the playoffs, the Super Bowl will be extra on top of that.
Okay.
Or it goes to, like he said, ESPN Plus. They're going to stream it to you. You're going to pay for it. And they're going to give you commercials. The same goddamn thing Howard Stern did. You went to Sirius because you're like, oh, now Howard, no commercials. No, his first episode, you got goddamn commercials.
Or what if they tier it? A commercial-free version for 6.
That'd be $1,000 a year. $1,000 a year, you get no commercials.
BV'd pay it.
Here's the thing, though, and I would kind of, and I don't know the answer to this, but
we'll put it out there. What do you think? 5 to 10, BV.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just want. What is BV's opinion? 5 to 10. What does the NFL broadcast rights look like?
I think 5 to 10 years. Well, because how long are the contracts supposed to be for that they're doing now?
Whatever.
I think it's just year to year is what they're doing now.
Let's say 5 to 10. Like Steve put it
out just for 1 year.
5 to 10 years from now, my guess is it's still generally the same as it is now. I don't think that DirecTV will still hold exclusive rights because I don't expect DirecTV to last another 5 to 10 years. But so it'll either be with another carrier that paid completely through the nose to get it, or they'll find another way to monetize, either kind of running it in-house or sort of becoming more like taking away the exclusivity. I don't think that they're going to go to some full-blown where they make it where they monetize you watching it all together. They'll still have the networks in place, but I think you'll start to see more interactive options that allow you to watch streaming. I think they'll continue their partnerships with Amazon. and whatnot, but I don't see it going, ridiculously to the, complete pay-per-view model where everything is, you go through us to get it.
Watch the other leagues. If the other leagues start doing more and more on their own streaming and less on the networks, NFL's going to follow.
If other networks do, or if other leagues do that, it's because the networks aren't willing to pay for what they want now.
Yeah,
the NBA is really the only other major league that has significant national, following for
what
TV
are you talking
rights.
about, dude? Like, you can watch like the Tigers on FS Sports The Ocho.
Well, yeah, but they most of those have local. They've got local television.
If you look it up, though, Major League Baseball still makes more money than NBA.
How is that possible?
I have no idea. I thought Randy was full of shit. I looked up. Sure enough, he was right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, they do have double the games, so
yeah.
But so quick question, sort of like the idea that I think might be kind of telling about what the likelihood is that they go to this pay model, this real expanded pay model. How much of, if you took like the standard number of people that watch football on your average Sunday, right? How many of them are subscribers to Sunday Ticket now?
I was gonna say.
Well, no, that's what
so
I'm saying.
by that metric, though, to what I would say is by that metric of us, about 25%, maybe 25% is what we're all hardcore football players or football watchers.
Yeah, you're right first.
Yeah, 3 linemen and taste test.
So increase the price, pull it directly in house, and start taking away the networks. And how much of that remaining 75% can you realistically expect to capture that way?
50%.
You think?
I don't know.
I'm sure they got a metric. I would. The one thing I would say that's with Steve is I guarantee you someone's done the number crunch.
Yeah, okay. But if you get 50% of that remaining 75%, you're still losing 37.5% market share.
We also got to look at.
But you're also cutting out a complete middleman too, though, BB.
The Dave Markeys of the world and that are getting older that only watched on tel. We are already familiar with streaming.
They're willing to maybe sacrifice the older
their ratings are slipping down, so they got to go where that generation's going. NFL on TikTok.
Well, yeah, the way to get more ratings is to double your prices and take away your free options. That doesn't make sense.
Explain the 72 streaming services then.
It's all just talking hypothetically. I think that I agree. What I will say, though, is maybe I'm going to go in between you two and say that it probably won't be. BB's kind of leaning more traditional with probably that Sunday Ticket option getting a wider net. I think it's going to be you're going to have a select few games on more traditional and probably still tier it off like Steve's saying. Yeah. So in other words, if you want the Thursday,
we got the Lions for 16 weeks.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like I think you're going to have more of a walled garden about like being able to see like the Thursday night game, the Monday night game. Like, so in other words, we're going to go to a hybrid model of the kind of between the two of you where it's like, okay, we can't, ESPN and Disney said, screw us on Monday Night Football. So just take it and Monday Night Football in-house, bring it in-house and we'll go from there. Yeah. I don't think that that's a crazy reach, but it's interesting to kind of talk about because, you know, there's so much money out there, man. But the NFL owners, depending on what week you ask, I got $2. Like,
NFL owners are like teachers. We're broke. We're dying. We did hazard pay. So, crazy. Anyways, all right. So there's a look at the NFL. I think in the next 5-10 years, whatever we're used to now is going to be different by then. Maybe it's a streaming service. Maybe it's a hybrid like Charles. I don't know. I think we're headed to something different.
It's got to get our way. The one thing I will, I think all three of us, the DirecTV exclusivity of the Sunday Ticket is the biggest abortion in all of pro sports.
Yeah, nobody likes it.
It is awful.
Well, NFL likes their exclusive contracts, though. Look at EA Sports. Remember in the 90s? Oh, man, I can get all these different NFL games. And all of a sudden, EA has them all.
Always comes back to Steve.
It always comes back.
Well,
goddamn man.
I mean, they've taken me for about 3G over the last 10 years for it. So
but
not to mention how much more they took me by paying the higher price to keep DirecTV so that I can have it.
Yeah, but you got to admit, like, I'm sure someone. Yeah, exactly.
Rich Uncle Bill.
You got to admit, though, I'm sure someone's crunched the numbers on how much more could they gain if they were to go to their own deal.
Oh, I'm sure. So,
All right.
This is the beginning of a 4-hour-long podcast.
Yeah.
I
could be here till
I'm just going to tell you, we're 30 minutes in right now. This is going to go 4 hours today. So unless you really got like in for the long haul, you might as well just check out. Because we are already 30 minutes in and we haven't even scratched the surface of top 10 wrestler lists.
That wrestling list is at least an hour and a half each. So, all right, Charles. Now, my wife's favorite is Mush. Mush was on Shark Tank.
Which one did you say you wanted first?
The blueberry. Actually, that's the only one I want. You can keep the
No,
rest.
you can keep. We'll try them all.
Oh, okay.
I gave you some extra spoons.
Oh, man. Extra. God, I can't grab it. And now what Mush is pre-made oatmeal. Bill didn't get it.
One camera there.
But he's probably had oatmeal in his life, so he kind of knows.
Yeah.
We got blueberry, strawberry, and dark chocolate.
So this this was the Shark Tank product. Your wife has said that they've kind of changed it a little bit since the initial launch. They were in like a bigger tub. You're saying your wife had claimed.
Yeah, and it came with a plastic spoon. They don't do that anymore. They cut costs by eliminating the.
First of all, this looks like mud. Legit
No smell to it, or I lose my sense of smell.
This
I don't
one smells
smell
kind of
nothing.
chocolatey. So I got the chocolate one.
This
Steve's
looks like
rocking.
melted Play-Doh.
It's really thick. Whoa. BB, have you had these before?
Not the mush, no. And I'm not really a big fan of oatmeal in the first
I'm
place,
not
but-
either. We were kind of discussing pre-show. I don't know. It is just no taste. Do you have taste in yours?
I would say this product is perfectly named because it's just a pile of mush in my mouth.
Dude, it has
has
no
a little
chocolate taste to it. That is terrible. Jesus, daily your wife does?
Yeah.
So
Each
for
one.
something that's high in calories and sugar, it's not sweet at all.
I mean, it's not terrible.
Here, switch me out. I got a different spoon. All right, so we're going to switch it out here. I got to tell you, that's the most...
Now, full disclosure going into this, Michelle's least favorite is this chocolate one.
It's terrible. There's no sweetness to it at all. Yours, the blueberry one's way runnier.
I taste the chocolate.
That tastes like butt.
I got it from the
It's
side.
not sweet at all. What is your wife's favorite flavor?
It's like a vanilla apple one, the apple cinnamon, and
You
then
said that's specific to the fresh time?
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you.
All Myers has is the three we have.
I'm going to get this strawberry one going.
I think the chocolate tastes more chocolatey than the blueberry one. I didn't taste any blueberries in that blueberry
I think
one.
they all taste like butt. I'll be honest with you. I think they taste like shit.
Bill, are you jealous that you're missing out on mush?
Dude, I'm telling you.
After
BB
Charles had that great description of it.
Yeah, I'm okay with it right now.
So
I will say this one I can actually taste the chocolate. The blueberry, I could not taste the blueberry.
let me get this strawberry one going here.
You can have this chocolate one back. Or
I
just
don't want it. Throw it on your end table.
I wonder if I threw it on the wall, it would stick.
These taste like nothing.
Let me try the strawberry. How come this doesn't look red? It's a strawberry and it's gray.
They're all
Why
gray.
would strawberry be gray?
I don't know, man.
Well, the blueberry had a little blue to it.
It's blue. Steve, how come this grape ain't purple?
I mean, I taste strawberry a little more than.
Your wife loves these?
Oh, she's them all the time.
I don't know, Michelle.
I could taste the strawberry in that one. The blueberry, I just couldn't taste anything in it. Maybe I got a bad bite of the blueberry. I don't know.
I don't taste any of them.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Remember those no-bake cookies with the oatmeal in them? It's like someone melted one of those and put them in a cup. All right. A final verdict on Mush.
I'm going to give Mush a thumbs down. In a world where Cinnamon Toast Crunch exists and all these other delicious breakfast cereals, I don't know why on planet Earth you'd eat that. And also, I could get a Cliff Bar in the morning if I wanted to go a little higher protein or something like that. That's terrible.
I would rather have just a regular bowl of oatmeal with the little freeze-dried chunks of strawberry in it.
Yeah.
So it's a thumbs
And
down
then
for
also
me.
back to the price. You said they're kind of pricey.
Yeah,
right?
it's $2.50 a container, and then the fresh time, as Bill knows, there's a fat guy tax on clothes. There's a douche tax at fresh time.
So
Now look at these.
friend of the show, Wiggs, got us The Sakusa.
The 5 family pound bag.
Happy shrimp chips. He gave us a 16-ounce, 1-pound bag. That's the biggest bag of shrimp chips. It is hilariously large.
I hate seafood.
Yeah, that is. You can see that very abruptly,
and it's not even like what's the shrimp, what's the shrimp that's cooked and breaded? What is it?
Like scampi or
like
that?
the shrimp that everyone wants to eat.
That
not this raw shrimp.
He literally got us a 1-pound bag. Now this is the butter and garlic shrimp chips.
Of course, the bag rips terrible.
You got it open on this end right here. Try to peel it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He got it from Costco, from what Steve was saying, which is nice of him. Nice of him to give it a shot. He should have come on to try him.
These are weird.
Steve got a huge hit, BB, of freaking shrimp.
Oh my God. These don't look like chips.
Oh, they're white.
They look like little chunks of styrofoam.
Oh my God!
What the fuck are these things?
Oh, I'm feeling good. I couldn't get that.
This looks like a shrimp pork rind.
Dude, you don't want a pound of shrimp chips in your house?
Are you sure? Are you sure Wiggs isn't having a little bit of fun with you guys?
Yeah,
I think he's laughing at us right now.
He's like, these idiots are actually going to eat these.
Oh, they stink. Get a whiff of the bag.
Oh yeah, they're robust.
It feels like I'm on KP Lake about to go fishing.
All right, let's try some styrofoam. They're very sharp and gross. They're very garlicky too. Ooh man.
Oh, I hate seafood.
They're so like airy and weird.
Are you still eating them?
Well, I gotta make sure I like them or hate them.
Oh, I know 2 seconds in that I hate them.
Okay. They're so garlicky, man. Like, they are unbelievably garlicky. Oh, my God. I'll tell you this. If I had to, I'd eat these over the mush.
No, give me the mush.
So if I told you for a week, you got to eat...
Mush.
Steve's going back for some more mush here.
Those weren't even chips. They were like...
They're styrofoam. They're so weird. I don't hate these.
You can have it.
They're so weird. I don't... Would you
You're
know
still eating them. What is wrong with you? Why are you still eating those things?
Would you know they were shrimp?
Huh? Yeah, when you get a whiff of the bag.
Yeah, the bag's robust.
That's like a fucking fish's asshole in that bag. You open that up, you're like, whoa, man.
All right.
You're on that fucking reality show catching crab and you're to open that bag.
It must be like a Korean delicacy or something.
That's disgusting. I hate you, Wiggs, right now because that was disgusting.
Checkmate, man. Not as bad as I thought they were going to be. So, Steve, what do you got? You got a thumbs down.
I give it a 1 out of 10.
For the Sakusa.
It only gets the 1 for the generous
chips.
size.
Yeah. And, again, Wiggs, thank you for this delicious thing. 16 ounces of the shrimp chips.
Charles and Heather will be eating that for 5 years.
I'm going to go with a mid-thumb.
You ate a bunch of those. What's wrong with you?
They're not.
You've always liked shrimp, though.
I love shrimp.
You do. I don't.
Yeah, I do. I got to tell you, though, I don't think if you blindfolded me, I know there's much shrimp to it. It's very garlicky. It's very garlicky. Not terrible. I like them over the mush. I'd eat the mush
over those.
I just want more sugar in the mush. I don't know what's going on. Hit it with some Splenda or something. Like, let's jack up the sugar content in that mush. So anyway, there's your taste test for the week. I'm going to say avoid the mush and probably avoid the shrimp chips for the average person. Steve's taking it to the head on that mush. I think he's way down with the mush. I think he's not.
Mush is better than that.
Yeah, I think you kind of like the mush.
It's not terrible.
For $2, it's not terrible.
I wouldn't buy it for myself or ever again, but...
Oh, my God.
All right, Bill, are you jealous you missed any of that?
No.
He's like AJ Hawk at Pat McAfee show. He's just like, no.
All right, let's go on to reviews as I get this shrimp taste.
Wow. Gotta love a taste test where both of us are like, oh, my God, that was terrible.
Yeah, wow. The mush is very disappointing.
So we had our new show. We previewed it earlier in the month. We talked about it. Young Rock came out. This is a sitcom half-hour on NBC. It basically chronicles the life of The Rock in 3 different time periods.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Dwayne The Rock, when he was a child, probably about 10 years old, I would say. Then when he was a teenager, and then when he's in college. and it's kind of narrated by him and Randall from
Fresh Off the
Boat because he's running for president in present day.
It's like 2032 or something.
Yeah, and he's having an interview with Randall.
Is that what you got, BV? Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
2032.
Yeah.
So you get 3 different time periods throughout the show. I like 2 out of the 3 time periods. I like the first one with Andre and Sheiky Baby and all of them around there.
Fantastic
A lot
job
of
with
nostalgia.
Where
did they find that guy to play
I don't
Andre?
know, man.
That
but
dude was huge.
As soon as you saw him, you knew who they were going for and
Yeah.
everything. It was great.
Junkyard Dog all hanging out.
Fantastic casting.
And then Charles liked it, but I didn't like the teenage years. It felt very sitcom-y, Saved by the Bellish to me. Here's a homeless guy named Waffles going to give me a life story, a life lesson. But then the college was pretty good because his dad told him to work the gimmick. And
That shit was great. The dad's working. He's working on the dock. And now, and he's screaming on like a payphone about like, son, you got to work that gimmick, man. Because the dad went in and said he's going to be on a Wheaties box. He's like a freshman in University of Miami.
It's going to be one of those Asian Wheaties boxes.
Yeah, it was really, I thought, Steve is right. I think that if you're going to rank the 3 generations of The Rock, the weakest of them is the generic kind of teen one.
Yeah.
It's not as terrible as Steve's going to lead you to believe, but I mean, it's not, you definitely don't miss that one. But
yeah, like if they never did the teen section again, I'd be fine with it in the other 2 sections.
But it's funny that he was like a grown man with a mustache. I kept calling him like Johnny Rico or Richard Rico and stuff. It's funny. I don't know. This show was really, it was very kind of heartfelty, and you got what they were going for. I think he's definitely painting his dad to be a really good guy, which I think is kind of funny because I thought him and his dad kind of have a tumultuous relationship, and they kind of had to reconcile later in life and stuff. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was and I'm glad to have like a new sitcom on my docket of kind of being able to see. I don't know if Steve thought differently or BV.
I liked it. It airs tonight on Tuesdays.
NBC.
I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'd like to come back to it this summer when this because I think it's only on until end of May or something like that.
It's like a short season.
Yeah. We'll come back when the whole season's done because you never know. Maybe this was a great episode and the rest are going to be terrible. Yeah. We'll revisit it when it's over. Bill, did you watch it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I didn't actually have a problem at all with the teenage Rock thing. Yeah, it wasn't as interesting or as good as the other 2 segments, but I thought it was perfectly fine. I thought it was, entertaining and whatnot. And they've got I think it fits what he's trying to portray in the show. Or like to tell you his story, and so he's got to give you different aspects of himself. I thought the same thing Charles did about his dad because I know they'd had sort of some rocky thing, but I think that's more along the lines now of like, sort of he looks at him now he's passed, and he sort of looks at him
he
like,
got where his angle wasn't.
Yeah, he did a lot of things that were at the time kind of whatever, and they might have had their problems, but in the end, that was just his dad being his dad, and he took the lessons from it. I thought it was a home run. I'd give it a good solid 8.5 out of 10.
And I'm at an 8 with BV. It's the best new sitcom I've seen in quite a long time. Yeah. I'll tell you that. Like, there's nothing that has come on recently.
Oh, that tastes like the shrimp chips.
He just burped up shrimp chip, BV.
Mixed with mush.
Wow. Especially compared to what we're about to talk about next.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if you guys get a chance, and again, as sitcoms are kind of, Steve's going to die, as sitcoms are kind of all kind of coming to an end and all the new ones are very mediocre, this was a very shining light out of all the new ones. And they're kind of comparing it to a show I love in the Wonder Years. A little different formula because obviously that was Daniel Stern dictating to a younger Kevin Arnold. It was one generation.
The fact that you know it, Daniel Stern. Dude, I've been like Fred Savage. And I don't know who else.
I love that show. Dude.
You fucking know the names.
Yeah, I love that show.
That show was awesome.
Yeah, it's just funny. There's certain things in life where Charles is just like he'll say something like it's common knowledge for everyone. That and when you started that one day with the Never Ending Story characters, I didn't know any of them. Then there's a Treyu and the Falcor. What the fuck are you talking about? You say it like it's some not like fact that everybody knows.
He's been doing this since I met him. How does it surprise you?
The most random weird shit. It's like
I love it. But anyway, I gotta tell you, if you guys have a DVR at home, you should definitely be setting up the Young Rock. And it sounds like it was a smash hit relative to like new sitcoms coming out and stuff. And like we talked about it, if they're gonna keep going down this wrestling angle, Working the gimmick is one of the funniest things I've heard in a long time. That was so funny when his dad kept telling him that. Like, there is no gimmick, Dad. Like, what gimmick? You lied. Really funny.
I like when Andre showed up at his like show and tell or whatever it is high school. So I think we all agree about an 8 out of 10. Let's hope it stays that way. Now, Ballers started off good.
Yeah,
and throughout the years, so let's hope that Young Rock stays good. Now, on the other end of the spectrum was the show Keenan on NBC.
Debuted after the Young Rock, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I DVR'd them both. But,
okay, I think it was right after.
Bill, did you see
I watched
Keenan?
it in the other order.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So that was, we made Young Rock seem really good at BB.
Yeah, well, I watched Keenan first also because I wanted to hold up. I figured it. And I like Keenan Thompson.
Yeah,
I like him, but this show is terrible. This is.
I feel like is it a lot of canned laughter and stuff too? Is it?
I don't know what it is. He's a morning talk show host.
So it's like an Al Roker kind of thing?
Yeah, but he doesn't do the weather. He's just the host. Yeah. He's like a poor man Steve Harvey, I would say.
Okay.
And his wife recently died because that's uplifting, and he's living with his 2 daughters and his father-in-law, who's Don Johnson, and then he's got his good friend who is kind of like his agent. And
is a good friend like a funny stand-up comic?
He's the other dude from Saturday Night Live, the bald black guy. He does I can't think of his name, and he's okay.
Jay Thomas or whatever. Does like a lot of impressions and stuff like
that.
No,
yeah.
Jay Farrow.
Jay Farrow.
No, it's not Jay Farrow. It's one of the newer guys. I can't think of his name. You recognize him as soon as you saw him. But I
can recognize him.
Yeah, but especially because you watch Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Is it Chris Red?
Is he got a bald head, buggy eyes like?
I'm just looking at the people that are in the cast.
Yeah, well, it's his assistant / friend or brother.
Nonetheless, I'll check it out. But yeah. So
don't check it out. The show is terrible. Don Johnson cannot do comedy. He was the worst part. He's supposed to be the quirky, funny father-in-law, and he doesn't come off funny barely. A lot of it was moping around talking about his dead wife and stuff, and like he snapped at the crowd because he was trying. I don't know. Bill, do you think differently? Am I being too harsh?
No, I don't think so. Because I also like Keenan, and it's like he's trying to be funny, but the entire premise of the show seems to work against everything sitcom. He's dealing with he's dealing with the recent passing of his wife, and trying to handle being a single dad, taking care of his daughters, and he's got his. Don Johnson is his father-in-law staying with him to help, and he's got his friend. They're all kind of doing it takes a village kind of crap to go whatever, and he's on the show, and it's having some issues. And
do the kids act well in it? Or is it bad acting from the kids?
The kids are okay.
Okay.
But I thought the really bad acting came from the people that were the other cast members on the morning show he's supposed to be on. Like,
and one's that big funny lesbian girl, and she wasn't even funny. She did sports. I can't think of her name.
Yeah. Feemster.
Fortune Feemster's really funny.
She wasn't on this show.
She also had like a 30-second part, basically.
Yeah, she was like really the sports guy on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she wasn't really part of it, but to me, it basically it's like they put him in the most impossible scenario. That's right. They basically just said, here's a sitcom that has no chance of working because the story is god awful.
Yeah.
But hey, see if you can play that trying to be happy kind of whatever, guy, and see if you can make it work. And
who thought it was a good idea to have him mope over his dead wife for a half hour? How is that comedy?
Yeah. I'll give it one more week.
That's more than I'm going to do because I'm never watching that show again.
Steve's done. What do you give it out of 10, Steve?
I give it 2. One, because I like Keenan, and there is one funny scene at the very end, right before the credits. Him and his wife were actors before, and they did a show where she played his mom, and he has the bloopers from it, and they go to kiss each other goodnight, like it's supposed to be a mom kiss, and they make out. They go, cut. That was kind of funny. That's it. Nothing else was funny.
One quip.
2 out of 10 for me, Bill. What do you think?
I'm gonna reluctantly give it a 3, just because.
Not as harsh as Steve.
Just because I think that if they can pivot to just a more lighthearted thing, they've addressed the wife. If they can let him move on and just start in everyday kind of stuff, the show has a chance to be marginally average. But yeah, I mean, the first episode itself, I wouldn't give it higher than a 1.
Wow,
it was bad.
That's really harsh. Wow,
need more of this mush.
Steve's into it, man. I think you're gonna have it in your house all the time. So.
Well, I don't touch it. She yelled at me.
Yeah,
but I think the chocolate one's the best one. She said that's the one she likes the least.
Steve.
God damn it. Anyway.
You can't eat this shit on a regular anyway because of the sugar.
Anyways.
Wow.
So there we go. Young Rock's a hit. Keenan will probably be canceled by May. Charles, now, I didn't watch this. You did.
Okay.
Allen versus Farrow.
So did you guys hear about this throughout your weeks at all? Like reading
I
blogs?
saw
on
it in HBO
DVD?
Max, but I didn't watch it.
Holy shit, Steve. So this is Allen versus Pharaoh on HBO Max. I watched it, but it's an HBO documentary, and it's going to be a several-part thing. I didn't know. I'm a little aged out of the Woody Allen-Mia Farrow relationship where he eventually runs off with the stepdaughter in Soon Yi. Okay, I don't know of that. I only know through Howard Stern kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how knowledgeable you guys kind of are.
I knew this overall arcing story. I don't know the details.
Okay, so I don't want to get into the minutia of there, but again, coming to it from someone who was aware of it broad stroke wise, but didn't know the reality of it. Woody Allen's a pervert, and this whole thing does a fantastic job. It's told mostly from the Mia Farrow angle, but then they also bring in excerpts of Woody Allen's memoir book that he wrote and did the audio tape for, so they kind of overlay that. So basically, he, again, not knowing the relationship, he remarried, he didn't even marry. He was dating Mia Farrow, who had gotten divorced. And when she was married to some dude, she had a couple boys, and then she also adopted a bunch of Steve's way into that mush. It looks like he's eating mud. Yeah. She adopted along with her ex-husband a couple like Asian kids that were not in good environments and all this kind of stuff. She's a very giving mother and all this kind of stuff. So then she moves on and she starts dating Woody Allen because of weird New York stuff. Sometimes I hate when people are way too into New York. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like that whole like over the top, like New York's the best place on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
make it big anywhere. You got to make it in New York.
Yeah. It's like these New York centric people just kind of turn me off all the
New
time.
York bagels are the best.
Yeah.
New York
like
pizza's the best.
The Woody Allen thing, like I don't get his type of filmmaking. It's not funny to me. I'm not knee deep in New York culture. And they start dating or whatever, and then she wants to have another kid. She's one of these chicks that has to have like a whole gaggle of kids, right? And they can't get pregnant. Like, so then they adopt this daughter, Dylan. And this daughter, Dylan, is one of the main people going after Woody Allen. Woody Allen has the creepiest relationship with this daughter, so much so that he goes and see a psychiatrist about it who tells him, like, this is not a good relationship to have with this stepdaughter. Like, he's super, like, overbearing. He's oddly, like, applying sunscreen. Another thing, too, I didn't let my daughter run around naked all the time. Yeah. Are you guys weird like this?
I hate naked baby syndrome.
Yeah, like, where it's like, dude, put some clothes on this kid.
Yeah,
like,
I never got
And
that.
again, being like they're in Connecticut because that's where New York people go. Like, that's their up north or something.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
or the Hamptons.
Yeah. And
the Hamptons in
he's like weirdly like putting sunscreen up this kid's ass crack and shit like that. Like really weird. And
you don't want your crack to burn.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, okay, Woody, you're a weirdo. Like no one, you know. And again, it's told from the Mia Farrow angle. It's a very good expose. It's written really well, and the whole time you're just watching this going like, dude, are you serious? Like we live in 2021 where like they're cancel culture and the shit out of people left and right. So it ends the end of part one. Mia Farrow basically finds a bunch of Polaroids of the Soon Yi character, the one stepdaughter, like hustler type, she called it, like Larry Flint style pictures of this stepdaughter that is at Woody Allen's apartment. So then that's how they kind of cut it. And then it's going to go on to part two, obviously, where then he obviously goes on to marry this girl. But they also don't touch much on that relationship in the first episode. The first episode is kind of in this Dylan thing. Steve, this was as good as that Finding Neverland documentary. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I'm watching this, just going like, how is he able to still do movies? How
he's
is
considered one of the premier artists in Hollywood.
It is crazy to me.
Like actors, when they make it to Hollywood, want to star in a Woody
Allen movie, yeah.
Which never make money and nobody watches. But some reason...
people in New York do. And it's like, okay.
Well, 20 people.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. But I got to tell you guys, if you guys get a chance, just watch this, boy.
For the
record,
is crazy.
Though,
you fell into this like I fell into that Jeffrey Epstein one. Remember, I was watching that. You're like, you did a fucking book report on it.
Yeah.
You just did the same thing with Woody Allen.
Yeah, you're right.
Fucker.
But it's one of those things when I get where Steve's coming from. Like you're just like, dude, holy shit! Like whoa, like whoa, no one's seeing this. Is anyone else watching this? Like, wait, how is he doing this? Like, and then like I said, for him to still have a career, and like Steve's saying with the Jeffrey Epstein thing, like how are you still around all these people? Like what?
And it's just like the Roman Polanski guy back in the 70s who diddled some 15-year-old, then went to France for the rest of his life.
And then I struggle with that one because he's done one of the best movies of my adult. The Pianist is one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like with Adrian Brody.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's set in World War II, and it's so compelling. Admittedly, he's a creep, but that movie's fantastic. I'm sorry.
I got to take a poll in the room. Is any of the three of us, and we've seen a lot of movies, Bill more sports movies, any of us sat through a whole Woody Allen movie?
I don't like that New York centricness. I know.
I have never, because they look terrible. Bill, have you?
I have actually. I saw Annie Hall, which was one of his popular movies from the 70s years ago.
Wow. And what do you think?
I thought it was garbage.
Okay. Well.
He's the thing is he's one of those quirky filmmakers that makes films for quirky New York audiences, and if you don't get it, you don't get it. And so it's not that I think his movies are all that great. It's just he appeals to like the artistic elite that, because it's different and it's not like everything else.
It's cinema.
It's brilliant. Yeah, and he's
I don't know, man, but this, and like Steve says, break my balls. Like I was super compelled the whole time. I'm just like, dude, like how is he able to still have a career? I don't know what's going on. And I went full Steve on this one. I'm sorry I went long, but it was Steve's right.
You ripped me on that Epstein one. Yeah. See how those things just suck you in?
Dude, it really did.
And then you're wondering, like, no one else sees it?
Yeah, like
Epstein's a molester.
I'm like moments away from texting both you and BB going, dude, you got it. Like this guy's an animal. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
But I knew it was a weird relationship with his stepdaughter.
I just didn't know all that background.
I knew that. I didn't know he had hustler pictures of him. That's a little weird. But
there's I know isn't there like a big dispute? Like they're the most like the Pharaoh family claims that he started a sexual relationship with Sun Yi when she was like 13 or 15.
But they don't go into that. She was a college student by the time she found the Polaroids.
She claims they didn't actually get together until she was 21.
It's very gray area. But in the back of your mind, it's gray area by like the lawyerness of it. Yeah, but in the back of your mind, you're like, this guy's a molester. Yeah.
He smoked his fire.
Yeah. So I was sucked in. I'm going to definitely watch part 2. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. It was super compelling to me. Yeah.
Bill, could you do a real quick search and see the net worth of Woody Allen?
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, his movie's never made over like $100, but he'll be worth like $200 million.
To me, what tells the tale is, because I haven't seen this yet, right? But the response, I mean, yeah, sure, they're denying things.
His camp kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, but the primary pushback is that they may sue because HBO used the excerpts from his audio book without his
express consent.
Yeah, exactly. And that they claim that the Sun Yi claim that they were notified and were given only a couple days notice and an opportunity to respond before it was aired. That and someone with the Farrow family or someone connected to that has ties with HBO. So the claim, what I'm seeing here is claims net worth is $140 million.
Yeah, crazy. Meanwhile, not a single. But then again, on the documentary, it said he's released a movie a year for like the past 4 decades. So.
Yeah, I would imagine most.
So you only got to make like $3-4 million a movie to make that much loot. Yeah.
All he's got to do is get people to go behind. He probably made all his money years ago, and he just gets all these goofy funding, this from those freaking artsy bastards. Yeah. He just shows it in film festivals, and no one else ever sees it because it's crap.
Someone said in an interview, one of the actors that she did a Woody Allen movie, but you almost never saw him. Like a lot of the assistant directors and stuff directed all. He just kind of disappears.
I don't know. I went full Epstein, like Steve's saying. I won't break his balls in the future because I was blown away too when I was watching.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I was like, this guy
sucked in those documentaries.
This man is a creep. He is walking the streets, and he is a creep.
Someone's got to do
It's
something.
hard to hear the stories and wonder how he could possibly not be guilty of all this stuff. I can't even imagine after watching the first couple episodes. It's got to paint the picture of a really
What annoys
up
me
guy.
is the room full of fucking hypocrite actors who all want to work with him.
But then they cancel everyone else.
Yeah,
so like
you
it
know.
doesn't. Kevin Spacey, and again, I'm saying that what Kevin Spacey did is correct.
Yeah.
But like they completely drummed him out of town.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. The girl from the fucking Mandalorian makes some Republican cracks.
Yeah, they drummed her.
But this guy diddles a 12-year-old and everyone's cool
He's
with it.
wiping sunscreen and booty cracks.
Yeah.
Because Gina Carano and did you say what? Kevin Pollak?
No, Kevin Spacey. Yeah.
Oh, Kevin Spacey. That's it. They're not. They don't have that status where they can sort of artificially inflate your career just by working with you.
Yeah, I get you,
So
man.
they're
Kevin Spacey
expendable.
almost had it, but then he got turned into a
No,
gay-
I mean,
gay
I'm not
diddler.
trying to say that these people need to be saved. That's not what I'm trying to say.
but
The pick and
the
choosiness of it
the
is very
hypocrisy.
crazy.
It's
Hypocrisy.
kind of
hypocrisy, yeah.
like football, right? Like if you're you're the special teams guy and you get caught breaking a basic team rule, you're 5 minutes late for a meeting, you get cut. But if you're an all-pro,
if you're Peyton
quarterback,
Manning, you
whatever,
walk in.
you can get freaking 4 DUIs and 2 freaking coke possessions things, and they'll find a way to give you another chance.
I don't know, but the production value, and again, to bring it back around to the actual documentary, production value is great. They do a very good job. The Mia Farrow chick's very quirky. Like they live in like some weird upstate New York house, and the whole thing is just weird. I don't know, but I'm telling you, Woody Allen's diddling little kids. This is all I'm going to say. Allegedly.
Wiggs says it looks like you loved those shrimp chips.
Yeah, they weren't that bad, Wiggs.
And my wife corrected me. Hoda and Jenna Bush are on after
Jenna
today's show.
Bush. Oh,
Yeah, so Kathy is gone.
that's the George Bush daughter, right? Jenna Bush.
I'm sure. I'll go with
Correct.
Yeah.
And she also said that the mush has fiber in it.
Oh, yeah, I can get them poops going. Okay. It looked like Steve was eating something that came from fiber.
Yeah, it does.
Does anybody here think Steve Markey has any problem pooping?
Also a valid question.
Now, every morning, 5 a.m., got to take a shit.
Set your clocks, people.
So next up, this is just funny because I was flipping through Amazon and it's on there. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. The BeastMaster with Mark Singer. You remember this movie?
I know of it. I've never watched it.
You've never watched the BeastMaster?
No.
Well, you're not missing much. It's pretty terrible. I watched
What's
it
the
a
premise of it?
shitload when I was a kid. The premise is a producer saw Conan and was like, "Well, listen, we need a Conan movie. What we got? We got Mark Singer on contract. Okay, he can do
Who's
it."
Mark Singer? I don't even know. Is he the guy that hosted Double Dare?
No. He was an actor back in the 80s.
That's Mark Summers.
He was in V as well.
Oh, okay. I know him. Yeah,
He's a
okay.
tall,
I know
lanky
what you're
guy.
talking about. Yeah.
He's kind of the opposite of Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
he was
he's got
tall
like
and
that
lanky.
80s hair. He kind of looks like old boy that went against Schwarzenegger in Terminator. Kind of.
Yeah,
I know
a
what
little
you're
bit.
talking
Yeah, had the feathered
about. Yeah, I know
Kim
what you're
hair.
talking about,
Yeah, so and he has two.
How do you just know all this obscure stuff, Steve?
I don't know because this is the one I know. I don't know the sports.
Yeah.
I know BeastMaster, but it's funny. So it's like a rated R movie, but there's no blood in it. Like it's one of those where you stab the guy and he goes, "Oh, fine!" Then no blood comes out, and then they show Tanya Roberts is in it, the R.I.P. who just died recently, the Midge from the '70s show.
okay, yeah.
She's in a scene totally topless, just swimming around, but you can't show any blood.
Oh,
it was so weird.
80s movie. Show them
Yeah.
titties.
Oh, the music was terrible. Rip Torn was the main villain.
Oh, okay.
It was-
Rip
it was-
Torn is.
God, it was so bad. I remember it being that because I had to watch it.
How were the effects?
Oh,
How cheesy
terrible,
were those?
terrible.
Yeah.
And it looks like they had a tiger, so they had a tiger because he talks to animals. That's why he's the Beastmaster. And it looked like they painted the tiger black. I'm not sure they dyed the fur on the tiger. And they used a real tiger. And somehow, I don't know how they did it, because that thing must have fucking bit like 37 people. They must have fed it just a ton or doped it a lot, one or the other. But it's a terrible movie. It's like a 4 out of 10. I watched it. It used to be on cable all the time when we were a kid. And with the few times we had cable, it'd be that Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks.
That's a good movie.
What Money Pit would be on all the time. So there's certain movies from my past like I used to watch it all the time on HBO when we had it. But
A big one I watched all the time with that was Stand By Me.
oh yeah,
All the
it's-
time watch Stand By Me.
Yeah, so there's some movies that are just funny, and it was a nostalgia movie, but it is terrible. It's like a producer's like, we need a Conan. That just made a shitload of money. What we got? We got Mark Singer. We got some ferrets. Who else? We got Rip Torn.
We got some ferrets.
Yeah, let's make a movie. We got that one chick with the big
I
rat.
can't believe they looked around and said, we got some ferrets.
That's what kind of ferrets are one of the main characters. So if you get a chance, if you want to laugh at some 80s
Can't
cheese,
tell you how many times I've made movies where you have ferrets was one
you
ingredient.
can't make a top movie without ferrets. The Beastmaster, Mark Singer, I think it was 1985 or 86 that came out.
So Steve's a 10-year-old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So I thought it was cool. Well, first off, there's girls with boobies hanging out in the water.
Yeah.
And then it's like, he can see through the animal's eyes. Oh, yo, isn't it? The father from Good Times. He plays like a
John
native.
Amos?
Yeah, he shows up. So it's pretty funny. It's still terrible. All right, so next we got Steve's Animation Corner. HBO Max has contracted a company to make a new Aquaman animated series. When I first heard about that, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. But then they released a still from it. And it looks like it's drawn like Rick and Morty, or like a mix of Rick and Morty mixed with Teen Titans Go look.
Yeah, but Teen Titans Go works because it's not played for serious. That's why Teen Titan Go can be quirky.
I don't think this is going to be played for serious. It's just going to look that bad.
That's the problem. You
So-
can't do that.
Any high hopes you might have had for the Aquaman animated series, forget it. It's going to be terrible. So there you go. Now, Charles and I are...
That's coming to HBO Max, you said?
Yeah. I will not watch a second of it because it looks terrible.
Oh, okay.
Charles and I both are working our way through Batman the Animated Series, which has a weird setup because the first season's like 60 episodes.
Yeah, I'm episode 40 in this first season.
Yeah, I think I'm in the 30s. It's
Okay.
like, Jesus Christ, it's lasting forever.
Did you get to the Grey Ghost episode yet?
Which one was that?
The Grey Ghost is actually played by Adam West, and there's a handful that are really good. That's the problem. Like, every once in a while... So, like we talked about last week with the bad dud episode where he had amnesia and he was in the gold mine. That episode was terrible. But then there's a handful of episodes I really kind of enjoy and I also kind of remember. So, like as a young youth, Bruce Wayne liked the Grey Ghost, and that was like his big show. And then someone was using the Grey Ghost stuff, so the old actor went broke and he was selling the Grey Ghost stuff. So then like an evil collector was using the Grey Ghost stuff to like blow up buildings. And it's, man, every once in a while, I'm like, I forget how much I love the show.
I just got through, there's like 2 or 3 episodes of the Mad Hatter.
Yeah, those are rough.
I don't like the Mad Hatter.
Where he was like in
episodes.
love with the Alice girl and all that kind of stuff. Those are rough. Yeah.
It was right around the same time where he was in the mines and lost his memory.
Yeah, bad
It's
times.
like a 6-episode stretch where it's like, ew, this is bad. So
There's definitely, I would say, there's peaks and valleys as an adult
Yeah.
watching this show. There's some, like I said, that Great Ghost episode. I also like a lot of the Poison Ivy episodes. I think are pretty good.
yeah, randomly.
Yeah.
When she had the health spa and turned him into
A couple of the Poison Ivy ones are good, and then the Catwoman stuff's pretty
the
decent.
Mr. Freezes I thought was good.
Yeah, the Freeze one.
The 2-part Two-Face one was good.
The one that the Harvey Dent stuff's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a definite, still a good show. And then, no real good Penguin stuff yet.
no
I
real
don't know.
good Joker either.
Yeah.
Like the Joker episodes have been kind of
Where he got the one guy, cut him off, and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
it's
Just a random
weird.
schlub with like.
I gotta tell you though, when I go downstairs in my way overpriced home gym, I love to turn it on and watch it and stuff like that. I get a few episodes in a night
Yeah.
just checking it out.
I switch between that and Robot Chicken. That's what those are the 2 I watch.
I'm totally entertained by it.
HBO Max is really, I mean, granted, some of the movies haven't been the greatest, but I watch that more than I watch Netflix or any of the other ones. I don't know about
I
you.
don't have Netflix anymore, so yeah, it's definitely.
I watch a lot of HBO Max, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And then this week, Tom and Jerry come out this Friday.
Oh, is that this Friday?
That's this Friday. So I also I'll talk about it next week. I watched the movie Irresistible with Steve Carell.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
that one I'll put on a review for next week. All right, Bill. This is our time to shine.
All right, this is my time to just laugh. So last week, I kind of posed. They were talking about the last ride with the Undertaker, and I like the Attitude Era, and that means like that '90s, early 2000s of wrestling, and we all did. And I also like the '80s stuff, and I'm knowledgeable. Steve's finishing off the mush of it, and I remember the Undertaker coming out like, you know, he's been wrestling a long time, but he was still steady wrestling in these bigger events and all this kind of stuff. And Steve and BV talked about a show that they had, and I kind of talked to Steve and BV. I was like, well, what is your guys' Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? Because I mean, at this point, I thought he might have made one of your guys' list because he's been wrestling for so long. And then that kind of led us down to these two are so funny, and they're like analyzing the Mount Rushmore stuff and so torn on who to put where. I posed the thing to Steve and BB. I said, give me a top 10 list. This is going to be of their own list. This is not about like who they agree or whatever. This is not for anyone to agree. And I told these guys, I'll pick a list that I think should be the top 10 list at the end. So why don't we go kind of back and forth? We'll get you to go your number 10 pick, BV, and then we'll vice versa. That's a good format, I figured. And then we can also throw in, we could do some honorable mentions before you hit your number 1 is what I think we should do. What do you got, BV?
Before we start here, because I, for the sake of trying to match, so I have a greatest of the 10, what I consider to be the 10 greatest, and then I also have 10 favorites. So you did favorites, right?
Yeah, I went.
There you go. Yeah. So this is BV's young BV into an adult BV. Your way of looking at wrestling and saying, you know, who's the best one, who's the best wrestler to BV. That's this. And it's not about the impact that person had on the individual business. It's purely BV's thought on, like, you know who I just love and is wrestling to a T, in my opinion, is this.
And we'll give our honorable mentions before we say number 1.
Yeah, so I figure we'll kind of go through the list. Well, how about we do your honorable mentions after we get through 6? Because your honorable mentions be in that upper tier or whatever. Yeah. So we'll go through 6. This is going to take a while, folks. I don't care if it's a 4-hour-long show. This is so entertaining to me to watch these guys struggle. Is one of the funniest things.
This is a hard list.
I don't give a shit. It's great, dude. It's funny as hell.
Ask Dave that's been here. It's hard to pinpoint until you actually do it. Your top 10 wrestlers of all time. Now, last week you said Mount Rushmore, so I just went with the 4 I think people in general considered top 4.
That's not necessarily Steve's Mount
That's
Rushmore.
not my top 4, but like Hogan, Flair.
Correct.
You know,
we were trying to set up as there is no WWE as we know it today based on that, is what you kind of said. So what I want to do is, as we kind of get a lot of you wrestling fans in on the show, because we're wrestling centric with you two, obviously goons on this show, we're going to start doing this Mount Rushmore type stuff because it is fascinating to watch. You wrestling fans are so fascinating. It's great.
I'm the same way with comic books also. So
so Steve's got a couple of readers. I'm sure BV with some sports stuff.
Oh, yeah. Bill's probably got 3 or 4 different things, too.
Let me pause Steve, because Steve's aching. You should see him. He's got his list at the ready. BV, do you have your notepad? Can I see your notepad, please? I want to make sure that you put it down on paper. Yes. BB's got his loose leaf notepad.
Full disclosure, when we used to do fantasy football, he was known as the War Room. He always had notepads and sheets. He did not do anything digital. He had it all printed out.
Do not worry about the ticker of this episode. BV, give me your number 10 wrestler as you see as your number 10 in all time in BV's world of pro wrestling.
Okay, in my world, so for my taste, my number 10 is Macho Man Randy Savage. To clarify, though, more so early Macho Man than late WCW Macho Man.
I broke it down to generations.
Yeah, early,
you got asterisks.
The Macho Man of the late 80s or the 80s into the mid to late 80s into the early 90s was about as interesting, about as good a combination of interesting character, funny, good with Mike and whatever, and match, sort of match skills, kind of what you call working. He made good matches, he made good TV, he was interesting to watch, and anytime he got in front of a microphone, you didn't know what he was going to say. Half the time it was going to be stupid, but you stopped and listened and watched.
So you're saying Miss Elizabeth era Macho Man is basically what
pretty
you're telling
much,
me.
yeah. Going through maybe the first couple of years that he was in WCW, once he got oversized and got a little bit too, just became the gimmick itself.
Before
he took a shot down, but the sort of the quintessential WWF at the time, Macho Man. Oh. Yeah, he was basically everything that was good about the '80s era of WWF.
I got to tell you, that seems a little low on the list. I'll tell you that, being a number 10. Steve, what is Steve's number 10 wrestler of all time? Before I tell you this,
I got some criteria. So I didn't go with tag teams. I figured we'll probably do a tag team later on.
Okay.
I may not even be able to come up with 10 tag teams, maybe top 5 tag teams. So I skipped tag teams. Huh?
I could do 10 each.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. I probably could.
Yeah. Twist his arm, people.
Yeah, Dudley boys. But anyways, so I skipped the tag teams. Now, remember this when we were kids, right? So we always had cable on and off, right?
Yeah.
So the one that's constant was WWF. So WWF was always on.
You gotta think we're kids of the '80s.
Yeah.
Even more so because you're a little older.
My point is, we didn't have a lot of cable all the time. Only when Mom worked randomly.
Yeah.
So
which was rare.
and most of WCW and NWA was on cable. where WWF still had that Saturday morning show.
R.I.P. Joe. We watched a lot of WWF pay-per-views because he had a black box in the 80s.
So my point is, my list isn't going to be too heavy on WCW.
It's about what it's about for you. It doesn't
I
matter.
know. That's what I'm saying. So people get a background of why I'm picking certain characters.
just picked Macho Man WWE or WWF era.
With all that being said, number 10 is Ric Flair. Now, granted,
BV is insulted, just so you know.
I know, but
a little bit.
Listen, he was a better champion than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, I read it when I was a kid. This is going to be a big theme throughout this. Grandma used to rent me the best WWE, whatever I wanted on VHS. Saturday morning, put that in. I got Hulk, the best of Hulkamania. And Hulk Hogan's matches was 3 hours of the exact same fucking match for 3 hours. I mean, it was like a blooper where Flair could do an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
See a little color.
His promos were always different. Hogan's, it was, what you gonna do, brother? And it was the same
Formulaic.
thing. Yeah, but Flair would go with it. So Flair for me is number 10. If I was a bigger WCW guy, he'd probably be higher on the list.
But you have to admit,
and I didn't get to see him until later in life when he went to WWF, where he did win the Royal Rumble, entering at number 1, lasted the whole time with Mr. Perfect by his side helping him. So Ric Flair is number 10.
You have to admit that is low based on most people's list.
Most people's list. I guarantee Bill's probably got him higher.
You're skewed because of just
now. Remember last
childhood.
week. With Mount Rushmore, I put him up there first.
Yeah, I get you. But that's
for me personally,
understanding
because
what he meant.
I didn't grow up on WCW, he's number 10.
He's number 10 in Steve's world.
Yes.
All right. So moving on, we're going to slide over back to BV for his number 9 wrestler in BV's top 10. What do you got, BV?
All right. So you're going to see kind of a theme here. I gravitate towards two kinds of wrestlers generally. It's big dudes with athleticism.
Yeah.
And sort of like your
so Hacksaw saw Jim Duggan as BV's number 1.
your mid-size, sort of mid-size, good worker, good character, good mic work. So my number 9, what I think is going to be much higher on Steve's list.
Ooh.
And I'm also going to clarify the era on this as well, because he's going to disagree with me on this too. My number 9 is Big Van Vader.
Oh.
Now, I say Big Van Vader as opposed to just Vader because his best work was done in WCW.
He's right.
I think he went to WWE and
they
had a short period of time where he was the dominant athletic force that he was in WCW. And before that, AWA, yes, I watched everything back in the day, as Leon the Baby Bull White. That WWF turned him into their typical, prodding, slow, boring big guy, and they basically ruined his career. Yes. But in his heyday, he was about 400 pounds, 6'5", 6'6",
and was nimble and could move,
and could do everything. I mean, he could drop kick, he could he go off the top rope. I mean, his Vader bomb was more popular. I mean, it was a big thing in WWF, but he did just about anything back then. He wasn't much on the mic, but he did all the things that your monster big man was supposed to do. So I was a big fan of that particular Vader.
I'm going to tell you this right now. I think there's a lot of people screaming at their iPod/iPhone/ whatever that you just put Macho Man behind Big Vader. I'm just going to tell you that.
Well, but we're talking
this
about
is your
what
list.
For us, though, right?
I understand. I'm just telling you. There's a lot of people going like, "Is he on crack right now?" That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to make a lot of people.
I'll tell you this, Michelle. I have a list of what I think would be the 10 greatest of all time, and neither one of them are on that list.
No, this is about your list, BB. Yeah. I'm just saying that if it's rarefied air that someone's going to put the Mach behind Vader is all I'm going to say.
Well, wait till we get further up the list.
This is going to get good. Steve, what is your number 9 pick coming off of your Ric Flair at 10?
Okay, now again, a lot of best of WWEs when I was a kid. And this is late 70s, early 80s was most of these matches. And one of the highlights, it was always
That's real old school WWF.
Yeah. And one of the highlights always on those tapes was Andre the Giant. So I became a big Andre the Giant fan.
You were an Andre fan?
In WrestleMania 3.
You just condemned Hulk Hogan's matches for being formulaic.
Now, if Bill knows the early 70s and late mid-70s, Andre did a lot more stuff.
Oh, okay.
He was much more, he was like Big Show level athletic.
Okay.
By the time we saw him at WrestleMania 3,
he didn't do shit.
He was a toddling old man that's about to die, which I think it was his peak. After Andre, from his beginning of his career to WrestleMania 3, right there puts him number 9. But that's that time frame.
That
After
shows-
WrestleMania 3, he should have just retired and went away.
Yeah,
But
that shows your age difference between me and you.
Yeah.
You got 4 years on me. You would probably remember those. I only remember Andre as being useless.
I remember matches when he has that afro like on Young Rock.
Wow, with the blue singlet.
Yeah, he's wrestling 3 guys at once. He's doing suplexes. He's doing all kinds of crazy shit.
And he's very, to BV's point, kind of in that same vein.
He was
He's
like-
a big man who did shit, is what you're saying.
And then I would put Big Show in this number, but the problem with Big Show is they ruined his character over the years. He had to wear a diaper at WrestleMania. He had to fucking fight Floyd Mayweather and lose. And he was a good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy. Andre was a face most of his life and then turned a villain near the end to wrestle Hogan.
Also known as a heel, correct?
Yes.
These are the terms of deep pro wrestling.
Sorry. So, and then it's still considered one of the best WrestleManias ever is WrestleMania 3. And that main event, that's peak. I forget what year that is. I'm like 9, 10. Yeah. It's a
formative Steve years.
And I'm the only fat kid in school cheering for Andre. Everybody else wants Hogan. I'm hoping Andre wins. But Andre the Giant is number 9 for me.
Man. All right, so it's coming in at 9 for Steve.
All
was
because
Andre.
of the best of WWF volumes 1 through 20.
Yeah, okay. All right, BV, we went. He brought us in with Mach into Vader. What do you got for your number 8 pick for the BV Top 10 Pro Wrestlers?
Before I go into the number 8 thing, I have to give Steve some love for the Andre pick, and I have to admit there was a time when I was a bit of an Andre fan too. In fact, my first actual memory of watching Andre was a match on like Wrestling Superstars one Saturday or Sunday morning, when he was in a tag match with S.D. Jones
I remember those.
against Big John Studd, and Ken Patera, and they basically just kicked the crap out of S.D. Jones, beat the crap out of him, and cut his hair. And it was Andre had long curly hair. They cut his hair short in the ring, and that was like there were like fans crying over it. It was ridiculous how long.
And that was BV.
And plus that Andre the Giant documentary is just gold.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, what do you got for your number 8 pick?
So this one's like a pure kind of guilty pleasure, and I don't have a whole lot of reason to back it up other than the fact that I just love the guy. He's like a complete hilarious. You thought the first 2 were funny. Stan the Lariat Hansen. The bad man from Borger, Texas.
I don't even know who this is.
Well, he had a run in the late 80s, early 90s with WWF.
He looks like a guy who worked with Dad.
He came down, with tobacco in his mouth, spit and chew. But he's a
He
Japanese
knocked Vader's
legend.
eyeball out.
He was a longtime AWA World Heavyweight Champion. The lariat is his finishing clothesline. With he's a 320-pound guy, just one of those kind of tough
Big
SOB
old Mr.
type.
Strom mustache.
He's sort of like the rich man's Bradshaw.
Yeah, Bradshaw patented his early career after him.
Yeah, he's like Bradshaw. If Bradshaw was a lot bigger and better. But just I watched him when I was a kid, particularly in the AWA years, where he was a dominant heel. Loved the guy. I can't make some sort of some sort of compelling, tangible case for why he should be on the list, other than just love to see how he just kicked the crap out of people. He could barely see. He was one of the stiffest guys in freaking history. So I believe he actually broke a guy's neck in a match once.
He did knock Vader's eyeball out.
There's not much
like legit style story.
Yeah, he put it back in the match.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the eye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I'm noticing a theme amongst the 2 bigger guys in the room, obviously, the digital room. You guys love a big guy.
Yeah,
you can't come with. There's no Rey Mysterio on it. These guys is
Rey Mysterio will never make
You
my
came
list.
to the wrong show if you're looking for Rey Mysterio.
Maybe Eddie Guerrero.
This is a lucha-free zone.
Yeah, it really is. When he broke out the
I will
lariat,
never put a
from
luchador in
AWA.
my top anything for pro wrestling.
All right, man.
It's a crap version of wrestling.
All right, so Steve. So we went from number 10. I lost my fucking train of thought.
We're at number 8.
We're at number 8. What do you got for your number 8, Steve?
Now, this is
after
where me and
Flair
Bill are
Andre?
thinking somewhat together. I put Macho Man Randy Savage right here at number 8. I think that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat Macho Man WrestleMania 3 match with Miss Elizabeth and George Animal Steel on the sideline. So I've never seen up to that point so many close two count falls.
Like real tight.
I mean, today, in this day and age, everyone has 2 count falls. Yeah. But back then, you didn't see that.
Those momentum swings and everything.
It made me really appreciate Ricky the Dragon as well. But Macho Man is great. One of my favorites. Who doesn't like the Macho Man?
Yeah.
Even the crazy roided out Macho Man in WCW later in life. And then he also showed up in TNA for a while. Macho Man is my number 8.
All right. Wow.
So me and Bill thinking a little similar.
You got to have Macho Man in like a top 10 list. I mean, he also transcended the sport a lot.
Yeah.
And people still to this day love him. I mean,
and he lost Slim Jims.
Yeah. Snap into him.
And if you don't like that WrestleMania 3 match with Steamboat, you just don't like wrestling.
Yeah, period.
That's a requirement. All right, BB, what do you got for number 7 after coming in with the
Macho
lariat?
Man had a lot of good matches with Warrior, too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just for clarification.
Yeah, because Warrior couldn't wrestle for shit.
Very entertaining, though.
Right.
He came to
Yeah, you get pumped when he came down.
Dude, very good. So we went from the lariat at number 8 from TV. I can't even remember the guy's name.
Stan the Lariat Hansen. He literally was just a giant cowboy. That's all he was.
Doing knocking Vader's eyeball out. What do you got for your number 7 pick, BB?
You look at extra from Blazing Saddles.
This may be the start of a bit of a theme here for the next few, but my number 7, I have a feeling, I know this is going to be on Steve's list and probably quite a bit higher than this. Also primarily for areas that weren't what you think, like time periods that were, that time period too, but Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
My number 7.
Number 7. That's low for Steve. Steve's
no,
bummed.
love him as Mr. Perfect. So I got nothing bad to say about his Mr. Perfect. However, part of the good things about watching, if you're a wrestling fan, watching all the crazy stuff that I used to sit up to watch, is that I saw Hennig's career develop before he got there. So like I saw him in his run in AWA, where in stint as the AWA champion. Seen him where he was in tag matches with his father, Larry the Axe, kind of building up to that point. About as good as you're going to get as far as ring work. It's about as good at the wrestling moves and being able to take and sell other moves. Always interesting on the mic. The Mr. Perfect.
You guys like a lot of guys that get a lot of heat. A lot of like.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I am a heel centric.
I got some
fan.
baby faces, not many.
Not many,
Always
but you guys are both definitely going to skew towards the heel. Let me ask the question. So
it's
Steve,
just more fun to watch.
No argument for me. This is I get it. Like it's always fun to see someone who pisses off everyone in the arena. I get it. So Steve kind of laid out the groundwork of how he became a WWF centric fan in the 80s into the 90s and stuff. How did you consume these obscure ass like AWA and all? How did you get it? Like what's the story?
The rabbit ears.
Okay, yeah. So when I was a little kid, so my grandmother got into wrestling, and I'd spend a lot of time at my grandma's place, and we would be. So she started watching
Mom's mom.
Yes.
Mom.
Yes, Mom's mom.
Where
she
at?
started
Where
watching.
you at? Where are you at for locale wise? Where'd she stay?
She lived in various places, like Taylor, various areas. She lived in Taylor for a
She
while.
lived downriver is what you're saying. I'm just
downriver. Yeah, she was a different place, but she got into watching they called it WCW Saturday Night or whatever at the time, but it was NWA wrestling. It was 6:05 every Saturday. Eating for 2 hours
on TNT. But
that's where I became.
You had to have
this
cable.
is early to mid 80s and I watched it weekly, got into it, was a big fan of, instantly just gravitated to heels. And then I was already watching WWF at the time too. And then I just became an addict watching it. I mean, like a lot of kids that age do, from like say 7 to 10 years old. And so I just started, I found that flipping channels one night, I found that, there's these, I could get wrestling magazines. And I'd see are they on TV? So I'd check. So I found, now I had this black and white television back in the day that was had really funky rabbit ears, like a 13-inch screen. And on Friday night, they had a back-to-back sequence. It was like one of those UHF channels, like channel 38. I don't even know where
Toledo
it was
channel, I think is what
it
is. Yeah.
And they would run back-to-back Mid-South Wrestling, which later became the UWF and a lot of guys that became later famous in WWF started there and whatnot, and they were part of that weird affiliation with NWA where like Flair would go around and defend the championship against their top people when he went in the territories, and then AWA would come on right afterwards. And that was like the Greg Gagne, Nick Bockwinkel, Larry Zabisco, and then later on, guys like Hennig and Hansen and Rick Martel had a stint as they.
I know what he's talking about.
Where the Road Warriors really first hit television.
I didn't watch them then, though.
But I would sit there. every Friday night. It was like
Tune
8 o'clock.
That shit
every
in?
Friday night, I would play with the rabbit ears so I could get it in well enough to watch it, and I would sit in front of that black and white TV, and I would watch. I mean, I'd be sitting there watching like Dr. Death and Steve Williams and Ted DiBiase tagging up against gentleman Chris Adams and Iceman King Parsons, and then I'd flip over and I'd see like Nick Bockwinkel versus Greg Gant. And so I got to the point where I was watching literally every wrestling promotion that you could get on television. I was a bit of an extreme nut from about the time I was about 7 or 8 until I was about 16, 17. I watched pretty much everything I get my hands on. Later on, I watched World Class on ESPN. I'd watch, it was crazy. By the time you guys started hanging out with me, I'd kind of backed off my wrestling fandom.
Yeah.
I was not as hardcore at that point. Yeah.
All right, let's go around to Steve. What's your number 7 coming off of BB's Kurt Hennig? Yeah, Kurt Hennig.
So this one, a lot of people hate him now, but I kind of like what they're doing with him now. Well,
so this is a current card wrestler?
I got a couple on here.
Whoa.
Well,
hitting your top 10?
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's Brock Lesnar.
Oh.
He's not that current, but hey, what he did to John Cena at that SummerSlam with those 15 suplexes was gold. What he did at that Royal Rumble where he threw like 15 people out was entertaining. And they use him like a Mortal Kombat boss. Like he comes in and just destroys everyone, and he does lose from time to time. But he wins.
Does he lose on technicality kind of?
Yeah, like
things?
It'll be a triple threat. The other guy gets pinned, and and when he beat the Undertaker streak, no one saw that coming at WrestleMania. Just randomly, they gave it to Lesnar, and everyone was like, and that one black guy's face in that crowd where he's. I mean, you got him, and then even older Lesnar, younger Lesnar, when he fought Kurt Angle at that WrestleMania, he did a star press and landed on his head. Gave himself. I like Brock Lesnar a lot. I always have. So
but it is a little shocking though, because I'm just saying, like, you guys tend to like angle towards these tactician type people.
He does a lot of moves.
You're going to argue that? Okay.
He always did.
You guys are deeper than I am. I'm just saying, like, on paper, if you're asking my opinion.
When he wants like that match, watch that WrestleMania match with him and Kurt Angle. That's one of the best.
It's going for it.
Yeah,
I mean, he has wrestling pedigree. I'm not, I'm not here to tell you.
His worst match is him and Goldberg when they were both retiring and leaving the WWF. That's terrible.
Wow.
But he's put on some good stuff, and I think he's always been pretty consistent. And he always had Paul Heyman to do all his talking, so he doesn't really have to talk. And I enjoy him. I enjoy watching him.
You're a big fan.
I'm a big fan. Always have been. Billy, any thoughts on Brock Lesnar?
I've never been the fan of him that I think you were, but I will say this. As far as, like, because he gets so much cachet from his real fighting background, the fact that he's just a freaking monster, he's probably one of the most underrated workers as a wrestler of this generation.
Well, unless
he's in with a guy like Goldberg, he rarely puts in a bad match. In fact, if you want to see matches with him, for even like the modern stuff, not the stuff going back to his first run when he was real young, watch matches that he had with people like AJ Styles, for example. I mean, he does a lot of stuff. He sells better than you would think he did. He has a really good way of looking like he's unstoppable and then for a minute making you think that he might actually lose to this guy before he finally pulls it together. I mean, I think I'm not as big a fan, but he's a really, for what he does, he's a really underrated guy.
16 suplexes to John Cena. That's all that.
Yeah,
I agree. Like, that is pure to me. Someone who happens to enjoy the way he wrestles. I don't think that he's going to make a lot of people's top 10
No, because a lot of
lists.
people hate him because, one, he's part-time a lot of times.
Yeah.
He left the WWF multiple times to do other things. So a lot of wrestling fans don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about any of
No,
that.
I'm not saying that, but it's your list at the end of the day. I just don't. If you were to bring 100 wrestling fans in here, I'm going to say out of maybe Larry. I don't know what BV pulled out with that one, but I'm saying like out of those 100, I don't think he's going to crack a lot of top 10. That's why this is purely Steve's list, and this is who he loves. So, all right, BV, give us your number 6 pick, and then we'll get some honorable mentions on the next round. What do you got, BV? Number 6. You got a mute? You're muted there, BV?
I can't hear you, Bill.
Oh, I didn't realize I was. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it. Number 6, BV.
So this one also, and I think when we get to my honorable mentions, you'll see that I have some obvious things that for most I left off that probably could have gone there, but I thought at the end of the day, it's more like just liking them for a pair. I'm thinking about people that I liked over the years. So my number 6, and this is going to make no sense to you either, Ravishing Rick Rude.
Number 6 is Ravishing Rick Rude?
But not
His
so
insults
much
alone
because,
get him up there.
again, not so much of his time in WWF. His run in in World Class and
I just
NWA
don't know the frame of reference that BV does.
Yeah, I like the way he had his persona in NWA, for example, or WCW prior to WWF, was as a very sort of crisp, kind of badass tactician. He's always been, he's not, I wouldn't call him like a top mic guy, but he's good at playing his gimmick. He's good to watch in ring, and he's a classic heel. And I've always liked watching him.
Wow.
He didn't make a lot of bad matches.
I like
I was a big fan of his. In fact,
you
I
guys
became a
are
little
so
less
heel-centric. It's funny to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah,
the numbers are going to be like 8-2 on your guys' list.
It really is.
I was a little shocked by that, I'll be honest with you. That seems very high. You're talking about Macho Man's below Ravishing Rick Rude?
Well,
I don't know.
but my favorites aren't necessarily the people that everybody loves.
I'm just telling you from an outsider perspective. That seems
no, I understand. I'm not your average wrestling fan. I think.
Yeah, you both aren't. This is true. All right, Steve, give us your number 6. What do you got for number 6 coming off the Brock Lesnar 7?
Here is my current guy. Chip Gaines himself, AJ Styles.
You guys love this guy.
I was just about to say, the one match you saw of him was the worst match he's ever been in.
I cannot handle
that and that terrible Undertaker movie match. But this guy is a constant performer, I'm telling you. His New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff, even most of his WWF stuff, what you said is pretty solid. I've never seen that guy have a shit match, except for the one you said. Now, TNA stuff was questionable. Some of it was, but New Japan and his current stuff, he's the best wrestler hands down right now, currently, I think.
You're saying as far as pure ability to do pro wrestling moves into scripting.
He's a young Shawn Michaels.
So you just love his ability to put on a show as far as in a wrestling match. He's your number 6 without a question.
Yeah, I like him. So number 6 for me.
So BV, give the world a recap. Give us your 10 through 6, and then give us a couple of honorable mentions, and we'll move on. Okay. What do you got?
So through the laughter of my obscure picking, my number 10, Macho Man Randy Savage. Number 9, Big Van Vader. Number 8, the Bad Man from Borger, Stan the Lariat Hansen.
No, wait, you got to go back for a second. I want to make sure BV understands. I want the eras that you want, your era specific as well.
Okay.
You just said Big Van Vader. I want to make sure
number 10, Macho Man, but
he's more
very heavily weighted towards WWF version of Macho Man.
The Elizabeth time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Big Van Vader, number 9, which is his primarily his WCW time before WWF. And even back to his AWA days as Leon the Baby Bull White. Stan the Lariat Hansen. I've just loved him from start to finish.
I got to Google him after the show.
He was just a bad, cowboy. Number 7, Mr. Perfect. But again, I celebrate his entire catalog. So I like him all the way through.
We got to make sure we understand that.
I don't have like one favorite era. I've liked him from the moment I've seen him wrestle.
And then Rick Rude at number 6.
Number 6, Ravishing Rick Rude. probably leaning more towards the W or the NWA, WCW, and
prior
World Class
to his
time,
WWF.
prior to W, but I liked him in WWF too.
All right, so give us a handful of your honorable mentions, BB. These are the
All
ones
right,
you guys couldn't quite eke into your top 10s, but you just
Yeah.
want to throw them out there and make sure that they could kind of be super. They didn't quite beat out the lariat, but we like them.
So, all right, I'm going to give you the obvious ones first because I have a good handful of them here. So the obvious ones: love Austin, love Rock, but
They don't crack your top 10?
no. You know what? I
Ooh.
think because when I look at my true favorites, I tend to. I mean, I think if I have any bias, I'm biased to my younger time as a wrestling
that
fan.
90s year.
So I mean, I love Austin Rock. I could easily put them in almost any spot in this list, and it would make sense to me. It's just I didn't. You know,
your love
cool
is tighter for the other ones.
Cool they're cool to me in a different way.
So I understand this correctly, Steve.
Yeah.
I just want to pause me for a second. We have a list that has Ravishing Rick Rude on it and an honorable mention of The Rock Austin. That's why this is BV's opinion.
They would.
Holy
they
shit.
are both,
that is
they
controversial.
Are both on the top 10 list I prepared for greatest of all
Oh,
time.
my God.
Although probably at least one not where you'd think.
Wow.
But others in my honorable mention would be the more stuff would be at least more obscure you wouldn't think of. Guys like Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes,
Harley Race
Terry Funk, Ivan Koloff.
I was surprised Ivan Koloff didn't make your top 10 list.
The great
He's
Buddha.
got a soft spot for him.
He almost did.
The Russian sickle.
I couldn't justify. He's probably number 11 because I had to.
He's
I had
always
to play
loved
with
that
myself
guy.
to put Mach over him. Great Buddha. And
He's struggling with it.
my one current wrestler, and it won't make a whole lot of sense other than the fact that I like what I think he should be. And so, but he's probably is Braun Strowman.
Yeah, you guys do love him. You both kind of talk highly on him. They always underutilize.
No,
both of you.
they've ruined him at this point. But they haven't ruined Lesnar. That's why Lesnar got out of the list.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right. So, Steve, give us the Hardy recap. Give us the 10 through 6s, and then give us your honorables again.
All right. Number 10 is Ric Flair up until he retired at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Anything after that is just old man hanging on. Andre the Giant from the 70s up till WrestleMania 3. Macho Man his whole career. I liked him the whole time. Brock Lesnar, his whole career. I liked him the whole time. And AJ Styles from New Japan Pro Wrestling all the way till current.
You like his whole catalog, essentially.
Except for his TNA. I wasn't too high on his TNA stuff. Because they put him in long feuds with Samoa Joe and stuff and like that. Honorable mentions. Now, these honorable mentions were just people I know are really good and didn't make my list.
So, wait. So, you're admitting that they're good as far as in wrestling? Or these so these aren't necessarily someone you tried to force feed into the list and just couldn't find a spot for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Undertaker, obviously, honorable mention. Hulk Hogan, honorable mention. But I told you.
I like how your top 10 list doesn't have a Hulk in it. I love it.
Hulk is just.
I love it.
I told you it's the same match over and over
This
again.
is why we're having this conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
Sting doesn't make my top 10 list. But he is very popular.
Wait, Crow Sting or
any Sting,
or like Billy
not
Idol
current Sting. They won't let it go. John Cena. I don't like the guy, but I understand what he brought to the business, and all that.
What about Make a Wish?
Yeah. Bret the Hitman Hart.
Dude, Bret the Hitman Hart didn't make your list.
No, he would make the top 10.
He hates you for not letting him make the list.
I'm shocked that he didn't make your list.
He almost did a couple times.
Steve,
Sid Vicious.
Oh, you guys
only Sid Vicious, not Psycho Sid. All that
okay.
Kurt Angle, obviously, but not anything after 2010 of Kurt Angle because that's when he had his
fusion.
Yeah,
he couldn't move, man.
And finally, Yokozuna. I've always had a soft spot for Yokozuna because me and Bill watched a WrestleMania where he dropped the leg on the smoking guns, and it was the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen.
And he's also a large man, which automatically puts him on Stephen BB's list.
But those are all just honorable mentions.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're at number 5, Bill.
So, BB, what do you got for number 5? Bring us around to the. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here.
I like to echo Steve's fond memory of Yokozuna dropping the leg on the smoking gun.
We were at a club
That's
when
right
we
up
saw
there in
that.
classic moments with the Nitro episode where Kevin Nash just freaking slings Rey Mysterio's face first into a trailer.
And Bobby Heenan goes,
That was
lawn
awesome.
dart. I remember that. That was great.
So number 5, and again, kind of with the theme that I've gone the last couple picks here, might also be a surprise, and also not the era that he's famous for. who you would immediately only consider
Bill likes
the $1
recruits in high
million man,
school.
Ted DiBiase. Would be my
When
number
Virgil
5.
and the $1 million belt, dude, and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you're saying avoid that time.
I started watching Ted DiBiase when he was building his name up as one of the top wrestlers in Mid-South. He eventually became their North American champion, which was their top title at the time, and had great feuds with various people in that league. The other people like Dr. Death and Terry Taylor, who was a name at the time there, and some others. I've always liked the way he wrestles in ring. This is definitely a tactician pick, one of the best in ring guys you'll ever see. The $1 million man gimmick was so much better than it really ever should have been, although I never liked the Virgil aspect of it.
He was super rich. He had a black guy working for him. I mean, what the heck? He's a South guy with a black guy.
That was a generation early racist. But
yeah, that's what it was.
Well, I didn't like Virgil. I think is really what it was. I
love the tag team of IRS and $1 Million Man, though. I thought
Erwin R. Shyster.
Yeah, those two together were pretty good.
Yeah, and not as IRS. I mean, Rotundo's another guy I've always liked.
He's got to pull away that gimmick too. No,
he's not honorable mention, but love me some Mike Rotundo.
Metallica.
He really is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Well, okay. I liked him before, but I liked him through WWF.
He sold out when he got big.
No, I liked him through WWF too. But the thing is that what I don't want to do is just be that person that says, "Oh, I love $1 Million Man," because it wasn't that I liked that character. I liked him since the beginning. It's not like, "Oh, I liked him before you did." It was just, I spent a good portion of my whole wrestling fandom life as a big fan of his. So that's why he's number 5 for me.
And again, another heel-centric pick. Yeah. Just so we're on that way. And okay,
he did spend a good chunk of his early career as a babyface. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, Steve, bring us on. What do you got for your number 5?
Well, not quite as obscure as Mid-South. I have my first babyface. Well, no, so AJ Styles usually a babyface. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I have him here at number 5. Who can argue that 90s money?
The fact that it's in an honorable mention for BV is crazy to me. What are we talking about?
I started liking him right after that King of the Ring match with Jake the Snake. He just says you're Bible thumping and all this bullshit. Austin 316, I just kicked your ass. Yeah. He's one of the few guys I've actually bought a wrestling T-shirt for. I don't buy many of those.
They don't fit.
That's true. I even liked him back in WCW days when he was stunning Steve Austin. I like that. I didn't really care for when he came.
When did he get the blonde girl? Like when was
that? Was in WCW days, I believe.
Was that?
Yeah, because in WWE early days he was the $1 Million champion. He was the ringmaster. So it was terrible. He was terrible then. But then when he turned to Stone Cold, I don't have to go over his. I mean, we all know all the shit he's done.
The ability,
the guy's entertaining.
No one is aside from The Rock. Mike skills, unbelievable. Mike skills, unbelievable. And his
hilarious hillbilly.
Man, the average person would not disagree. I'm sure BB's going to disagree with you. I'm going to say it's crazy he's an honorable mention on BB's list.
You can't argue with anyone having someone like Austin in their top 10.
Number 5.
He should be in mine.
Any reasonable person.
If it wasn't for the fact that I just have that soft spot for my young years.
You put the lariat on here. It's an honorable mention to Austin.
That's the one thing I did a little different, Bill. I did all the generations. So like when I was a kid, teenage years, and AJ
I did
Styles
that too. I just
he can't let it go. He just loves it.
I made tough choices. It's kind of funny. This is the one time that you're actually shooting against obscurity.
I think it's funny, but my number 5, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Stunning Steve Austin.
Okay. No era disintegrator, no specific.
The only thing I didn't like was his first WWF stuff where he was the ringmaster. Okay. Ironically, with Ted DiBiase as his manager.
Okay. All right.
He didn't like it either. So
yeah.
All right, BV. So we went from number 5 being early years Ted DiBiase into what do you got for number 4?
All right. Well, this one I think most people are going to agree with the fact that he's really cool, but you're going to be like, why the hell is he so damn high? In fact, you're going to be like that with pretty much everything going forward except for maybe one. So my number 4, and this includes his run in WWF, although Yes, just like others.
Write this one down. This is the first one he's included in WWF for a stint.
No, because he went to a whole other level there. Although I've been a big fan of his since day one. Kind of sucks as a person, but as an in-ring guy, is about as good as it gets. Jake the Snake Roberts
is number 4.
Number 4.
It's high on the list. I can see it.
He is the perfect.
You can see Jake the Snake Roberts, number 4.
Jake the Snake Roberts is
I can see why he liked
perfect
him. I know why he likes him.
heel. Why? Why do I like him?
Because how cold and calculating he was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah, he's the perfect heel. He's the perfect
You know
heel.
his type of wrestler.
He's got the psychology completely
I
mastered.
hated when they turned him face, though. I really
no one liked him as a face.
Yeah.
He would sit in he's the one guy that would sit there and he would make all of it. He never had to really raise his voice. In fact, the only time he ever really did raise his voice is when he was a baby face. He would sit there very calm and calculated. He'd tell you all the things he's going to do to you. He's real twisted. And they've ruined the move over the years, but you go back to like the late 80s, again, when he was, in other divisions, I saw he made a run in Mid-South and other places too. When that DDT, because he was actually the one that originated, that DDT, when he did it, was very different than the way, now it's a very mechanical, sort of like straight stand up to down move, and they pop up after it. When he did it, it was one of those out of nowhere, quick snapping, pop your neck down. It looked like he did real damage. I never cared much for the snake part of it. That part I didn't like because I didn't think he needed that. It was like an extra little prop, but I don't think he needed it. Yeah, I mean, I love heels, and he's probably the perfect heel. So that's why he's my number 4.
And I would argue that his DDT was the precursor to the stunner and the RKO. How those two always had it out of nowhere.
And just hit you with that?
Yeah, Jake was the only one. Everyone else, when they do their finishers, the big thing, or make Hogan shaking his head, and
he just quick snap you up.
Hit it out of nowhere. And the stunner was kind of like that, and the RKO from Randy Orton's like that. And I think they borrowed heavily from Jake the Snake Roberts.
Great. I'll tell you, I love the fact that both of you went deep dive DDT.
One of them.
I love that. Both of you.
The best thing ever with Jake the Snake. He had a Saturday night's main event match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
The concrete
He
floor.
pulled the concrete out, DDT'd him, and Bobby Heenan on commentary goes, "I smell coconut juice." It was so goddamn funny. It was so out of nowhere. It was so funny. But anyway,
I watched that on YouTube about a month ago. By the way. Went down one of my rabbit holes.
All right, so Steve, we had Stone Cold number 5. What do you got for number 4?
For the record, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was always getting his ass kicked. That's the same one where Macho Man hit him with the bell across the throat. Steamboat should never do WrestleMania Saturday Night's Main Event. Anyways, this is my first group, my only group actually. Number 4 for me is DX, both versions. Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Up until DX, Triple H was okay. He was like a blue blood character. And Shawn Michaels, I hated him in the Rockers.
He was Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah. And even in his solo stuff, he still to this day has the dumbest move ever. He just kicks you in the face. That and the mandible claw. I hate both of those fucking moves. And but those two together and just busting Sergeant Slaughter's balls every week and all the funny skits they did. And then you throw China in and
what that was.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but and then, I got 2 words for you and all this stuff. And one of my only other wrestling t-shirts I bought was a DX t-shirt. And then even later on when Triple H and X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws got together and they were feuding with the Nation of Domination, funny stuff. I think that DX made me like Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Up to that point, Triple H was in matches with like that Godwin guy all the time, like mud pin matches and shit, and he was terrible. He got in the DX, he got to be his real cocky self. Everything kind of clicked from there. So
he also seriously cycled them steroids when he got in the DX too.
He
got massive, and then he's now like a full-fledged Viking at this point.
He gained about 50 pounds of solid muscle.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, so DX for me at number 4. Either version, take your pick. It doesn't matter. I like both versions. I thought they were funny and entertaining. When they came out on Raw, everyone stopped what they're doing to watch. Because you knew Austin's coming out at the main event to beat up McMahon. And then DX.
Is that your only group on the list?
That's my only group.
Where did the Rockers fall? I don't understand.
They would not, even if I did a top 10 tag team, I would not put the Rockers on.
Where's Marty Jannetty?
No, I hate the Rockers. Anyways, DX, Degeneration X.
We
got
4.
2 words for you, number 4.
All right, what do you got for your number 3, BV? We're going Ted DiBiase, Jake the Snake Roberts.
You have, by the way, set up another rabbit hole because where we can do tag teams, we could also do greatest factions of all time.
Bill's number
whereas
one's
DX would definitely,
Horsemen.
if I were putting groups together, it'd be tough to leave DX off the list. The thing with DX for me though is that none of them were never strong enough by themselves. Because obviously Michael's work stands for itself, but I never liked Michael.
You just didn't like it because it wasn't in an obscure wrestling league in 1982.
No, if you want to go down that route, all right, how about the fact that when the Rockers came to WWF, they came off the heels of being the AWA Tag Team Champions for like a year straight as the Midnight Rockers.
I hated the Rockers.
So no.
Yeah, they sucked, so why?
So yeah, unfortunately, because I never really cared for the guy. I saw him before you did too.
I don't like the Rockers.
Yeah,
I don't like the Midnight Express.
Give your number 3 pick.
So number 3 is the beginning of complete unapologetic. These are just my fucking guys. You don't have to agree that don't care.
Arn Anderson.
Sid Vicious.
What?
No, go ahead.
Number 3, and I don't know if you just said this or not, but number 3, the Enforcer AA Arn Anderson. Horseman all day, baby. You can probably
I'm coming for you, Arn.
And you know me, so you can guess who the other 2 are. You may or may not know the order. Double A is only not higher in this list because of the other 2 people. If it weren't for the other 2 existing, he'd be my number 1.
What is it about him,
I'm not even try to justify it. He's the shit, and if you don't see it, you're an idiot. Done. You disagree with me? Fuck you.
Wow.
Done and done. Horseman for life.
All right, well, that's BB's.
You gotta admit his promos were a little weak. He couldn't talk on the mic all that well. He needed the Horseman and Ric Flair to carry him.
He also looked like a mechanic.
Well, that's
you need those trailer tags.
He wasn't like the main guy, right? He was never going to be the main guy, and he could work on the mic. He was good with the mic, but he wasn't. The problem is he never
be
had
the main guy. He just slammed your DX pick for none of them could really stand on their own. But he's willing to put Arn Anderson 3.
Let's just put it this way: DX is awesome, but they're not the Horsemen.
We obviously know.
I will say Arn Anderson has the best spine buster in the history of wrestling.
I think he originated the spine buster.
Yeah, his spine buster is awesome. It's a great move.
All right, I can't. Give me your number 3, Steve. What do we got for? What do we 5 and 4 is Austin DX. What do you got for 3?
Well, now we're gonna get a couple repeats. This is New Japan Pro Wrestling, WCW, a little bit of WWF. Big Van Vader.
I know where you're going with this one.
Big Van Vader. The reason why
you didn't like the WWF though, you're kind of with the BV.
He had moments in WWF, like when he appeared in the Royal Rumble. His first appearance, he threw like 6 guys out. He looked pretty good. He beat up Gorilla Monsoon, looked pretty good. He had a main event status with SummerSlam versus Shawn Michaels, which was okay, even though they made Shawn Michaels win, of course. And then after that, he was just a mess. After that, he was injured a lot. They put him in feuds with Yokozuna. Like, had the 2 fat guys fight each other. But
underutilized.
Yeah, but in WCW, he's the one that lost to Ron Simmons, the first black heavyweight champ. He had great feuds with Sting. And this is the little bit I did get to see at WCW. And the reason why Vader appeals to me, because in my whacked head, if I was a wrestler, that would have been me. I don't know why. I feel like if I was ever a real, I would have been Vader. I don't know why, but that's. So I've always loved Vader.
You do have an affinity towards both of you do.
Yeah, I've always liked Vader. So Big Van Vader, number 3 for me.
All right,
not the man they call Vader, because that's what WWE.
So for the record, he's appeared on both your guys' lists. Yeah. Let's go number 2, BV. What do you got?
First, I have a gripe here. I like to note that you called me to the carpet for putting him number 9 ahead of Macho Man, and you're not giving him any shit about making him number 3.
I've come to realize I can't argue with you two. I'm gonna let it go, and just your lists are your lists, and here we go.
All right. No, number 2 will also not be a surprise, but I will say that in how I categorize him, I am 100% on board with Steve's synopsis here. Number 2, Big Sid Vicious.
I knew
not
it was
Psycho
coming.
Sid, not Sid Justice, not whatever.
I knew Sid Vicious
It's the
was gonna
guy
be on this
who
list.
is from wherever he damn well pleases. He drops the frickin' power bomb, which
Bill
I don't
named
care
himself
who
after him.
the original power bomb, which is still and always will be the most devastating move in frickin' wrestling history. And then forces you out on the stretcher only to have you rolled halfway down before he goes and kicks your ass, knocks you off the stretcher, and beats your ass some more. Yes, he originated that too. Sid Vicious is the baddest wrestler in history. He kicks ass. I wish they had never ruined him by going with the whole Psycho angle, because at one time he was a really good big guy that could have been a dominant force, and they ruined him the minute they brought him in and changed him to Sid Justice and put him in with that immediate program with Hogan. It was crap, and they ruined his career. That's another reason why I'll always be WCW biased over WWF. Because he'd probably be my number one if they let his career go the way it was going originally.
He did win a title in WWF, though. He did win the heavyweight championship.
He also does a lot of like those shoot interviews that you guys are talking about.
he's
There's
always
a
on
lot
YouTube.
of that on YouTube.
Randomly fact about Sid Vicious is he would leave wrestling a lot to go do softball leagues.
Yeah, he's a prolific softball player.
Yes.
He's like a softball legend.
He quit his job for like 3 months to go to softball.
People used to accuse him of faking injuries so that he could go play. He'd hurt his knee.
Like
He'd disappear
slow
for
pitch
3 or 4 months and go play.
softball?
Yeah.
Like
Like
bar
beer
league
league softball kind of shit. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So Sid Vicious,
All
number
right,
2.
Steve, what do you got for number 2?
All right,
for
this
you?
is going to be another repeat, but I haven't followed him since he was a toddler, like BB did. The quintessential vignette back in the 80s was those fucking Mr. Perfect ones.
Yeah.
Throws that basketball up, it's a switch, hits that putt, throws a football, runs, catches it. I mean, you could get
no
better.
magic of editing at all. He did
None.
all
all
that.
perfect, absolutely perfect. He was a great tactician. He's up there with Hart. Him and Hart at that one SummerSlam was a great match. He could make any wrestler he wrestles look good. I always liked him. The only thing I will knock him near the end of his career, when he was high on painkillers all the time, he had some bad matches, and you could tell he was like Andre in the end.
Kind of thing,
Yeah, he was kind of. It was late WCW, and then he came back to WWF for a little bit. Then he died of overdose. But Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, I've always loved WrestleFest.
Is there any asterisks attached to this pick? Is it this era to that era, or is it
No,
any
the
time
only thing I would say, I didn't know him too much in his junior high days like he did, but WWF on, I love the guy. Just near the end of his career, WCW late, you could tell he had a back injury and he was kind of not as what he once was, but great guy. Unfortunately, OD'd, and his son is terrible.
All right, BB, here it is. Give us the recap 5 down to 2, and then give us that big pick at number 1. Go for it.
All right. Number 5, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, pretty much entire catalog.
No, you did not. You just said you
I prefer his earlier stuff because I didn't like some of the part with his $1 Million Man character, but I've been a fan of him throughout his whole career. Number 4, Jake the Snake. Other than the fact that I didn't care for the snake part of it, the actual, like Damien, loved him from the moment I saw him. I still think he's the perfect heel. Number 3, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, Double A.
The best part, I don't think you can call him Arnie Anderson. He has to pick the Enforcer.
I am the biggest horseman mark you will ever see. Won't change.
Sid
Won't
Vicious
apologize
was
for it.
Yeah.
Sid Vicious, although his run as a horseman wasn't very good, my number 2. He's just, just because he's Sid Vicious and you're not. And then finally, my number 1, and this has got to be no surprise to anybody. And yes, if we were doing my greatest of all time list, he'd be number 1 on that too. Woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, number 1. He's just the greatest of all time.
Lay out the facts of what makes him. What is BV's opinion on what sets this man apart from all other pro wrestlers and everything? What is the BV theory on why he is the best one ever? What do you got?
Okay, so for start, so he's working in the league that didn't ultimately get the same exposure. So McMahon became the superior marketer in the 80s, and so Hogan got all the exposure. Flair during that period of time, so starting say early '80s when he starts at the beginning of his what would be his initial prime, and sort of his run in NWA WCW, is that he was a quality as a quality worker. He was a great character, a great soundbite, and a great great promo. He sort of like for guys back in the day, sort of embodied what a whole bunch of kids would like, one of the jet flying, limo riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. He was like the embodiment of everything you would want an arrogant heel champion to be.
Was he ever in shape?
Yes.
Steve's crying different on that.
Well, no. Well, the thing is you didn't really. He was in shape when he came to WWF in the early '90s.
He had a weird definition. He was never like the roided out cut shape.
Well, no, 'cause he was never bigger than about 235. He was never a big guy.
He always had a little pudge to his muscle.
Yeah.
He didn't in the early
dad bod wrestler.
He didn't during the early to mid '80s. But he's also he's the king of the 60-minute, cage matches. His matches would always go long. He didn't go in and do 3 minutes of devastation or 5 minutes of whatever, and then let me shake my head and drop a leg, and that was it. The figure four is a great submission move. He did all the things that you would expect. He could play the I'm better than you, but I'm like the chicken shit heel at the same time. The whoa, I don't want you to kick my ass and thumb to the eye. Basically wrote the bad guy rule book.
I have one question for you, though, because
Sure.
I know you and I've been around you forever. At what point did you want him to hang it up? Because I know there was a point where you were sick of watching him. There was a big point where Bill was like, oh, my God, he's tarnishing his legacy.
It's like it's making it look bad.
I would say, because the time starts to run together, because literally, he didn't go away until,
Still not away. He was on Raw this past week.
But I'm talking about as a wrestler.
Yeah.
He really didn't go away as a wrestler until probably close to 2010. So I've been watching him for 30 years. I would like to have seen him probably shut it down right after the Evolution run, so probably about 2004, 2005. Definitely, although I think this was probably too long. I'm trying to remember. Do you remember when that met? Was it 2006 or 7 when he had that match with the retirement match with Michaels?
I think it was 2009.
Was it 9? Okay. Yeah. He was already around too long. I would like to have just seen him disappear and gone away at that point. So, yeah, the last...
after that, he resurfaced in TNA and wrestled some more.
Should have just been a figurehead at that point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
When you get divorced 12 times, you got a broke.
Yeah, you got to make the money. And he's just one of those dudes that just can't... I really think that he can't stand to be away from the spotlight, so he'll do anything he can to get in front of it. I want to say probably... He probably wasn't really worth being in the ring as more than a part-time person by about 2000. When he came back to WWF the second time. Mm-hmm. But then by the Evolution run, I think, is probably the end. I would like to have seen him just stopped after that, because by the time he actually got done, he was in his mid-50s. He couldn't do half of what he did before.
And he wasn't in shape in his 30s.
No, he wasn't. Well, because he wasn't a big muscle-bound guy in the first place. So when he got older, he was like everybody else and couldn't keep the same definition. Okay. He drank like crazy, so it's not like he was going to keep himself in top condition at that age anyway. And the other thing and this is not just that he wasn't in shape. The problem is he got to a point where he couldn't do a lot of things, and every match started to look exactly like the next match or the match before that.
Yeah, Hogan did.
You got to. The problem is the reason. What I hold against Hogan is that Hogan's done that his whole career. Flair didn't do that until later in his career when it was probably obvious that he shouldn't be in the ring anymore. So,
all right. Well, so we're going to go. I should deep dive Flair. I fell asleep.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
This is true. This is very true. All right, Steve. So give us your top 5 recap into your number 1 wrestler of Pudgy Steve's entire wrestling viewing show
number 5,
as a little kid.
Captain Middle Finger himself, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Enough said there. Everyone knows it. DX, number 4, very entertaining. 2 words for you. Number 3, what Steve would have been if he was a wrestler, Big Van Vader.
Okay.
And number 2, Mr. Perfect. I just love the guy. I always did. And finally, number 1, with the exception of maybe a 6 month to a year of the beginning of his career, which was not good. He was known as Rocky Maivia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He took some time off.
The Nation of Domination.
He joined the Nation. I love the fact that he gave all the people of the Nation of Domination a great gift, and he gave Farouk just a poster of himself. I mean, how many great skits was this guy in? Wow. How many great catchphrases? They named the goddamn show after him, the SmackDown after him. He was entertaining. Was he the greatest technical wrestler? No, but his matches weren't always the same. You always got, he might turn and join McMahon to betray Austin, and he was always back and forth a little bit too much sometimes on his character. He come back later on with Wrestle Cena, which I found to be entertaining. It's The Rock's, I mean, come on. To this day, when he walks in an arena, when they have fans, the place still goes fucking nuts for him.
Yeah. Do you think that it was good that he left when he left, is what you're saying?
For
was
him
it time kind of
probably.
thing? Yeah.
Could he hung on probably another 5 to 10 years? Probably could have. But, I mean, money-wise and career-wise.
Keep it moving, yeah.
I mean, if we just talked about Flair hanging on too long, he's the one guy left on top more.
And got to go.
Yeah, and he got that acting bug and made the right choice, apparently. No matter how many shitty movies he makes, he's still the top-paid fucking actor, so it doesn't matter. He's got a new TV show. He's got the tequilas and everything else. But I know his career wasn't that long, so maybe that doesn't justify number 1. But, hey, he came, like I said, in that 90s, DX came out, you stop everything you're doing to watch. Rock and the Nation came out, you're watching it. Yeah. And then Austin came out, you're watching it. And then, of course, Taker and Mankind were in there somewhere. So I find him entertaining. He made the 90s for me and early 2000s. And even when he came back and did some promos on Cena about the Fruity Pebble thing and all that other shit, it was funny. I mean,
unbelievable ability to talk and kind of do it.
Yeah, immediately he comes back, the crowd, the whole place gets electric, and it's
there's a buzz.
Yeah. I mean, Austin too to some extent, but I think Rock still might be a little bigger.
Yeah, when you hear that glass shatter, the Austin stuff though, people do go nuts.
So The Rock for me is probably number 1.
All right, so
maybe it's a lame one, but oh well.
It wasn't a groundbreaking,
Yeah.
So let me just tell you my opinion on both your guys' lists.
Oh wow!
I saw no Val Venus on any list
because he's terrible.
I saw.
Hello, lady.
I saw no Big Boss Man on any list.
Ironically.
Because Big Boss Man was kind of trash.
I saw no Bam Bam Bigelow on anyone's list.
Really?
For the record, there was a match between the Barbarian and the Big Boss Man. Best match I've ever seen the Big Boss Man do. Tons of moves. Anyways.
BB's list is dog shit. I don't know what the hell.
By the way,
I'm be honest with
I
you.
love man. You got to take him as Big Bubba Rogers from his NWA.
He's the biggest garage band elitist wrestler. He's full of shit. His list is fucking dog shit. I don't know what's going on with this guy.
I will neither argue with you or defend it.
We got a bad connection. I might need to hang up on him. I don't know what the hell that was. BB is smoking. Yes.
He had some unique shit on there.
All day long.
Except for his top 2. I kind of knew that going
Holy
in.
shit.
But other than
what
that.
in the fuck? I don't even know the one guy's name. I don't even know.
The one he surprised me on was Nikita Koloff. I thought for sure he'd be on there.
Oh, my God.
And he told us he was debating on that.
Not Nikita, Ivan.
Ivan Koloff. So one of the Russian dudes.
It is not even. See, we can't even get these obscure bullshit. BB's 100% wrong. Steve's list all day, because I at least know the characters on Steve's list. Not only does he pick anyone I might know, he tells you the era that I might know him from. No. He's so fucking wrong.
You got to respect it.
He's fucking unbelievable.
You got to respect it. Oh,
it is his list.
That was
Who am I? But I'll tell you this. No way in fucking picking BB's list. Give me Steve's list all day.
Well, you're biased because you're a little WWF heavy.
Yeah, we grew up in the same household, but holy shit, he picked the most. He was in like a Purina ad in the 80s. He was really. The fuck is going on?
How different would your greatest of all time list be?
What's that? Mine would be very similar to Steve's. I think that the Vader thing's really high.
I told you why.
Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, if you did greatest instead of favorite.
What's that? I mean, you got to put Hogan.
Go ahead.
The time when Warrior came down was amazing.
Warrior would probably be high in Hogan Charles.
Yeah, very high. But that's an age difference, I think, between the two of us and stuff. That's why Andre wouldn't make my list and stuff like that. But again, Steve gave me characters I at least know the goddamn names of. I don't. BV broke out guys that were wrestling in the Wonder Bread League in the middle of Tennessee in 1982.
You gotta respect
what
it. What
the? Completely. It's his list. I'm not here.
I could have put out like some hot stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Is it sad that I knew everyone he said though?
Fuck.
Is that kind of sad?
Because the thing is that you're a little bit more closet about your wrestling nerd.
Yeah, I guess
you make it sound like, well, I just watched, WWF.
He put obscure Rick Rude on his list. Like, not even like the Rick Rude I might even know. Fucking BV.
So Steve, like what? Yeah. If you just did that list as sort of like what you thought the 10 greatest of all time, would it change a lot?
Yeah, I think Hogan would be on there, probably Undertaker would be on there.
You put the Warrior on there too? I mean, what the hell? Bret Hart was an honorable mention on you
guys. If you think about it,
only
had a 5-year career.
Dude, and then the
disagree with the idea that you would put Ultimate Warrior on the top 10 of all time list.
Again, I think it's an age difference. So that, Steve hit that right.
We're not talking about favorites. We're talking about greatest.
I'd probably put John
He was
Cena
a transitional thing between the Hogan era and then leading into like the Raw. Come on. You're fuck you, BV. I'm gonna justify myself to you. I've seen your list.
He had a real
the Brooklyn Brawler probably out there somewhere.
What the fuck? No, the AWA version of the Brooklyn Brawler.
What?
Warrior had about a 2 or 3 year run, and then he basically disappeared.
Yeah, it was so huge. I don't think you guys got it. If
that's the case, then Goldberg should be one of the 10 greatest wrestlers of all time.
If you're talking about impact on okay, we're not going to get into the minutiae.
Yeah, impact on pro.
All I'm going to say is Steve's right, BV's wrong. Let's move on. Next segment. Holy shit, BV.
When you said Stan Delirious Hansen, Charles's face is like, what? That was the best.
Because my top 10 greatest of all time, I probably wouldn't have had a whole lot of surprises. You might have been surprised by like the bottom 2, but the rest of them you'd probably go. You might not agree with them, but you'd be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, like Bruno Sammartino. If you had him on there, I couldn't argue that.
Yeah, because we had our what is that called again? Oh, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the obvious, right? I'm like Flair, Hogan, Austin, Sammartino, but then like I'd give Shawn Michaels his due. But then I'm like Sting, Cena, Rock, and then my last 2 are the old like Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes. You probably wouldn't agree with those.
He put no Attitude Era people on there. We all 3 of us were so into that time of wrestling. Like he's rewriting history. Like
I'm not rewriting history. In fact,
he went most of his childhood.
I have Rock and Austin as like my top 10 of all time.
BV's list is
Rock
such hot garbage.
Oh my god, a top 5 guy,
dude.
You didn't know going in that Sid Vicious and Flair was going to be his top 2.
But dude, Steve,
I knew that.
He put someone on the list I've never even fucking heard of, dude.
For you,
what'd you say?
I thought Vader was going to be 1 or 2 for you. I thought you were going to end up with Vader.
But at least I heard of him.
Well, Bill put Vader on there too.
Oh shit! All right, next segment. BV's 100% wrong.
Funny part is it's quarter after 8 for me. So we were 2 hours and 15 minutes in, and we're only halfway through the show.
That was fun. We knew it was going to be long. I knew that was going to be long. So congratulations, Steve is the winner. BB.
Fuck you.
I don't know what you're up to.
What tag teams next, Steve?
Nah, he'll pull some obscure tag teams.
Oh God, I can't take another list from BB.
I guarantee you, if we do top 10 tag teams of all time, Charles, you will have never heard of at least 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, he might get me on a couple tag teams. I'll be like, who? All right, so that's for our wrestling. Now, Charles, have you ever heard of Patreon?
Yeah, that's like that. It's like a GoFundMe type thing, right?
Yeah, well, it's for artists, not just drawing, but musical people, stuff like that.
Brian Callen, when he got drummed off Fighter and the Kid, now does his podcast.
Yeah, and what you do is you go on. They have different tiers, and you can pay so much a month to the tiers. Well, now football's over, so I'm back into drawing a little bit, and I found some drawing guys on here. And what happens is, what they do is they put tutorial videos, reference photos.
Should be that AC/DC guy me and you were texting about that one day.
Oh yeah. And place. They also sometimes they'll give you Photoshop files so you can see how they did their images and stuff like that. and what you do is you pay X amount of dollars. It's like $10. Most of them are $10 a month. So the first month I tried Patrick Brown, and he does.
So whoa! Pump the brakes.
Whoa, yes.
You're telling me you're paying these people $10 a month?
Not now, but yes.
So we get on this fucking show. And we bitch because, like, Disney Plus goes up $1.50, and me and you go bananas. Well, you're going to give an obscure artist $10 a month?
Well, here's what I do.
What is happening right now?
Well, this started in January, so I gave Patrick Brown his $10. And what he does, he's got folders full of tutorial videos and stuff, and you can download them all. So I get in there and take all shit.
Oh, so you rob and pillage him.
Yeah, quickly. And then I still keep it for the month, so he's going to get my $10. So I got reference sheets, I've got tutorial videos and stuff like that, and he's well worth it. So
you're using it as a class structure?
Yeah. You can learn things for drawing, different techniques. Especially he had a video on shading, which was really good. And all he uses the same programs I use with the Clips Studio and all that.
So it translates into your technique.
So I highly recommend that one if you're going to do that. It was $10, and then I canceled it at the end of the month. So then I thought, well, I got some really good stuff from him. Let me try these other ones. So I tried the Mikey Mega, and his thing is he's really good at drawing women, and I've always been kind of bad at that. So he claims he has reference stuff, but what some of them do, and this is their trick around that, you pay him the $10. So now it's January, now it's February, my second $10. This is Mikey Mega. I want to get some tutorials on how to draw women better. I'm not the best at it, and he hides his stuff, so
it's in certain tier levels.
Yeah, well, yeah, I bought the $10 tier level, but it only gives it to you after the 5th of the next month. So essentially, I paid him in February, and to get the download stuff will be March, and I'll get 2 months just to get his stuff. So I got pissed at that guy and canceled immediately. And the same thing with the other one. Now this girl, she specializes in drawing kids. Kids are, I don't know if you ever tried to draw a kid. For some reason, they're so much harder to make them look natural.
Proportionate.
Yeah. So, and she does the same thing where she hides them. So I canceled that immediately. I didn't even pay the $10. So you got to be careful who you sign up for.
How is this different than like BV's OnlyFans and stuff like that? Is that kind of the same thing?
No, OnlyFans is pretty much porn. And when we get out the podcast, I'll explain that one too.
Okay.
But for Patreon, you just got to be careful who you pick. And I know that it's not just drawing. So you can go on there, there's YouTube creators and all kinds of stuff. You got to be really careful and read through what they give you and what they don't give you. And I found that out the hard way. So the Mikey Mega got $10 from me, but I didn't get any of the good stuff. But the Patrick Brown guy gave me all the good stuff. So Patreon, if you're wanting to learn some kind of art, usually the tier they run, you go from $2 to $10 a month depending on who you're doing. So there is Patreon, and that's what that's all about. So what about UFC, Charles?
So I talked to you guys about how that UFC fight night this past Saturday, I had kind of one eye on it. I fought it off. I didn't do it. I tried to do my best and didn't do it.
I did see this game.
It sounds like I missed a hell of a fight is what it boils down to.
The highlights are on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, are they? Okay, good. Because, I was really looking at it. I was like, and I fought it off. Well, Derrick Lewis, a huge underdog in this. My balls is hot Lewis, as we talked about, was fighting Curtis Razor Blaydes. He was a plus 350 underdog and ends up KOing the shit out of Curtis Blaydes, like Steve's describing. Yeah, I know, for real. We
bet on the wrong underdog.
Derrick Lewis, too,
Yeah.
It turned out to be a really good fight. He also has the record now for 12 knockouts in the UFC, which is the record Derrick Lewis does. A little bit of a controversy, too. Not only did he drop him, but he kind of beat on him after the fact, but the ref didn't stop it, and these guys are trained to go to the end. So it's one of those things. It's a gray area. If you don't get pulled off the guy, they don't know any different. So kind of my take. But nonetheless, if you'd have bet $20, you'd have got $70 back for him, man. It's a pretty good little deal. So sounds like it was a good fight. And then also you put on here, the Tik Tok has a new partnership with the UFC. I don't know much about this. What did you find out here?
They're going to offer a lot of behind-the-scenes live streams. Like, so the UFC pay-per-views coming up, they might show you the locker room. Yeah. So they made a new deal. I don't know how much money is involved or anything there, but UFC is on TikTok.
How does TikTok monetize? Is there like subscriber levels to that or anything like that? Or is it just ad-based? I wonder if it's ad-based.
Yeah, I know you get paid by certain companies. You have so many views and shit, just like all the others. But So TikTok is in a deal with UFC. Charles will be getting TikTok next week to catch up on Derrick Lewis.
As long as the embeds are still on the YouTube channel, I'm okay.
Did you see the knockout?
Yeah, I did.
It was a weird one. Like he was going for a double leg, and he kind of hit him in the side of the head.
Just so,
and they just fell over. I was like, oh.
But then you see him beat on him further. Yeah, there's some controversy with that.
Well, I mean that happens a lot in those kind of fights.
Yeah, you keep hammering them until they pull you off of them.
Yeah, we just bet on the wrong underdog. So there you go, UFC. Now let's get to some news, Charles. People got to go to bed eventually.
I got to go use the bathroom, so I'll keep going.
This first one, Bill and I were talking about. Now, Bill, you remember on the podcast I was celebrating that the college football game might be coming back, and Notre Dame doesn't want in it unless their individual players will get money for it. Any thoughts on that, Bill?
That seems like a bit of like a holier than thou approach to things. Like, so now, after years of promoting the greater glory of Notre Dame above all, and now they suddenly want to be on the cutting edge, and we want to make sure that we get our players played so that they're not
taking
exploited.
Advantage of. Yeah.
They're not exploited by the corporate machine, which is kind of funny because if you subscribe to the argument about players being paid, then these major universities have been exploiting college athletes for over 100 years. So, or at least 50. So, I mean, I don't necessarily subscribe to that thinking, but I think it's a little ridiculous. My guess is that's an excuse of saying that's a way to, and this might be a little, jaded response, but I think that might be a way to veil the fact that they're just going to want to get far too much money for the brand than they could probably justify, so they can put it as a way that doesn't make them look like they're being too greedy about it.
Did you hear about this news, Charles?
What's that?
That Notre Dame may hold out of the EA Sports college football game because they want the likenesses of their players to be paid and not being taken advantage of. It would be ironic that I don't get the football video game because of Notre Dame. That's all I'm saying on that one. That would be sweet irony, right?
The irony's a little loud now.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll find out what happens. Because they claim other schools are in the same boat as Notre Dame. They feel like...
I think that it's a loose workaround with that weird third-party thing that they're going for, and then they just change the numbers and stuff. You can see it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Are you familiar with Donald Glover?
Yeah, off of Atlanta. He played Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, he just signed a huge deal with Amazon. Amazon's kind of weird. They sign all these huge deals and stuff, and then nothing ever happens.
Just crickets. Yeah, it's really weird.
Like the Lord of the Rings they've been working on for about 10 years now. I don't know when that's coming. So Donald Glover, I don't know what this means for his Atlanta show on FX. I don't know if he keeps
what
it,
that's about,
or if he's going to move it over to Amazon. I don't know if he owns the rights to the
I think it's like weird. It's like an old school TV thing where they just get you locked up into a development deal because like it's a big network thing to do that too. Like they'll sign stand up comedians to network. Oh, like I said, like a development thing, and I don't know.
Were you going to say something, Bill?
Well, isn't this the dude? I thought this was the dude from like Lethal Weapon or something. What am I missing here?
That's Danny Glover.
Donald Glover's the
My bad, man. My bad. Sorry.
He is stuck in the 80s today.
And we wonder why I often have very little to contribute to big chunks of the show.
So Donald Glover, This Is America.
I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know. I'm trying to help Bill.
The
Gambino, Childish Gambino. No, okay.
Community.
So he's Childish Gambino.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, I know who he is. Sorry.
Bill's big on Childish Gambino, just not Donald Glover, the actor.
He played
I'm not really big on Childish Gambino either. I am aware of who he is.
He's Lando Calrissian in this Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah, if it's not Mandalorian, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Okay. So we missed this one. It happened right after we did our list of canceled shows. Ironically, CBS came out and said Mom will end this May.
You guys said that it was a shell of its former self. Anna Faris had left. It's just Allison Janney left. BV said it's not as good as it once was.
It's just funny. It was announced the day after we did the podcast, so I just thought I'd put that.
They should have broke that news on us. What is going on?
Yeah, I know. We could have been breaking news. All right. So next up, the new Mortal Kombat trailer is out, and I did put it on our Facebook page.
It's been a week since Steve updated us with Mortal Kombat.
For the record, it looks good.
This has got to be in your top 10 movies of all time, or video games rather. Like, did you bring up Mortal Kombat?
Well, this is the movie.
Week?
The movie.
I understand, but you are just into that culture.
So
breaking news: new Mortal Kombat trailer's out.
And it'll be on HBO Max, so prepare to watch.
It's also
Mortal
like an
Kombat.
R-rated, like red tube thing.
Yeah, it looks good. I hope it's good. I hope they didn't show all the best parts of the trailer. And Charles, you were asked about this the other day.
Yep.
Fall Guys is coming to the Switch and Xbox this summer.
They had a big Nintendo Direct this past week, and that's where some of these updates are going to come from. Yeah,
and we're going to cover that coming up right now. Now, your daughter's a big fan of Animal Crossing, correct?
Yes.
They are releasing a Mario content.
Daily. Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell
it's a paid thing though.
So pay for it?
Yeah, it's paid, and that's why I don't think my daughter's enough into it to warrant the cost.
I know you get a little Mario or Luigi skin for your
characters. It looks pretty good. Yeah, it does look.
I don't know exactly what Animal Crossing you're supposed to do. I
don't know what my daughter does in it. It's the weirdest, dumbest game. She's always building something and like doing and like walking around the town and buying hats and stuff. But it's like, what are you doing? I don't understand.
There's a lot of hats you got to buy, Dad.
Yeah, it's so boring. I'm like, this is terrible.
So as Charles said, there was a Nintendo Direct where they kind of cover everything new coming out this year. First up, the one I saw that kind of interested me if I still had a Switch, Knockout City. It's like a new version of Dodgeball.
Super Dodgeball is great.
I remember that back in the day, so I thought that was kind of neat. Skyward Sword is it's a Zelda game, but it's a remake of an old one.
Yeah.
So it's not...
Yep. People still love it.
But
I believe it's a Wii game that they're redoing.
Why does Nintendo get away with this all the time? Just take old games and remake them and put them out.
I want to play that new Mario Land, that 3D Mario Land one bad.
Now, Splatoon 3 is new. That's going to be a new one. That's a multiplayer.
Have you played the Splatoon games at all?
Like half a second. It's mostly multiplayer. You go around.
It's paintball, right?
Yeah. So I'm not a big fan. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. This is an old game redone with new graphics. Yeah. So another remake. Oh, just in case you didn't have enough, Ninja Gaiden Master Collection.
Yeah, which is, I thought, so doesn't Microsoft own all these games? Like
Ninja Gaiden? No, because the one Ninja Gaiden came out for Xbox.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Microsoft owns them
for some reason I thought
you
said Nintendo.
No, I think that was like an exclusive thing to the Xbox 360. It's basically 360 games repackaged into like a Switch thing.
Yeah. So maybe Microsoft's making money on that?
Maybe.
And now there's a new Star Wars game called Star Wars Hunters. This looks like Star Wars Battlefront, but like a mobile version is what it looks like. So
underpowered ass Switch.
And then here goes for your daughter, DC Superhero Girls Teen Power, if she's still into
She's
that.
not into it. Yeah.
Okay, so that game's going to tank. And then finally, Mario Golf Super Rush, because Nintendo goes, if we're short on ideas, put Mario in another sport.
And again, golf games on a console's terrible.
They've already done tennis, so golf is all that's left.
The DC Superhero Girls thing's weird.
Why is it weird?
They just don't have the content to just. So you wanted these little girls to kind of be into it, but then they let it die on the vine. They didn't give these girls like a show really to watch. It was barely on like a Netflix thing. HBO Max is not taking advantage of it. So it's like you guys could have hooked these little girls to kind of be into all this whole thing, but you just let it die. It's a really weird thing that I only know of because I have a daughter.
Now, I did hear that they are re-releasing, and it's coming back, Monster High. There's going to be a new cartoon show on Netflix for Monster High.
Well, my daughter loved that like yours did.
And a musical animated movie, and a new toy line coming for Monster High. So I don't know. I don't know if that's going to hook your daughter back into it.
The difference is going to be is, unlike back in the day when your daughter bought it, even into mine, it's probably going to be all blind buy stuff. Everything is blind buy. Everything. You can't see the toy you're buying anymore. It's just a wrapped up dark container, and you gotta get. It is the worst. Whatever toy person came up with that, I punch them in the balls. I hate that.
But toy companies love it because it keeps the parents from buying bunches of them.
Yep. It's awful.
This last news article, Charles put this on here before I got a chance. Sony, and we texted about it today, is working on a new PlayStation VR.
Which is good, because I got the adapter to allow me to use my PlayStation 4 PSVR on a PlayStation 5. It was a free camera adapter that allows you to plug the camera in. But it seemed like they were really lukewarm on it initially, and now maybe it's breathing a little life into it.
They say it's going to have a whole new controller.
Which you're happy with, because you hate the Move controller.
Yeah, I hate those dildos. And then...
are Are you going to need the camera, I wonder? If it's only one cable, I wonder if it's going to be more like
they
the
say
Oculus.
the controller is going to give you a lot of positioning and stuff. I don't know what the hell the controller is supposed to do. And it's only going to have one cord from the headset to the play, which is
it needs to be
excellent because yours is insane.
Yeah. There's two. Yeah.
Yours, you feel like C-3PO after you hook up yours. So.
Yeah, and mine was the second generation of the PS4. Yeah, so that was there was the first gen version of that PSVR.
So that is the news.
I'm pretty happy about that. That was a good piece of tech. I saw it on Engadget today, and I was pretty happy. I was like, that's cool because I enjoy that tech as you do too. Mm-hmm. And it just, I'm often happy to see when technology doesn't die.
I was thinking about that today. So the PlayStation VR or whatever, if you don't have a PS5, you can't get it. It'd be pointless. But so like if the Quest 3 came out, would I run out and buy it right away? And I don't think I would.
I don't know what you're saying right now. Like, what's your question?
So the next generation of VR comes out. Are you rushing out to get it?
Depends on what it does differently. What I would argue. Like, so the problem is with video game console stuff is eventually it all just moves. Everything shifts. So even if you're like, oh, I'm not gonna get it, whatever. But like, if you want to play the new game that comes out, like you have no choice. So I don't know. Like we talked about that. That's kind of the difference between cell phone technology and video game technology. Because like you can have an iPhone 8 and still do pretty much what a 12 does. But like I don't know. If everything just goes to the PlayStation 5, if you don't adopt it, you can't play the new game. So,
yeah. All right. Now, this is the discussion that moved over from the gym.
Okay.
So, Scott and I are having a discussion about downtown and being downtown. Now, we're not talking about, like, if I go on vacation somewhere. Yeah, sure, I want to see downtown New York.
You're talking about downtown Detroit specifically.
Yeah, or even for Bill, downtown Chicago, right? Like, I feel hanging out down there once you live here. Because he mentioned, I need to go hang out down there and eat and stuff. And I thought, once you've been there, it's okay. But why do I want to pay overpriced stuff downtown when I can go somewhere cheaper in the suburbs? And I just feel like a lot of times hanging out downtown is very overrated. I don't know if
I think that it depends on your downtown. When you refer to downtown Detroit, I would co-sign that. If I lived where BV lived, I like downtown Chicago. So I enjoy walking around the city center of Chicago and in the Loop or whatever it's called. I'm sure BV can correct me on it. There's enough things I haven't put my eyeballs on. Downtown Detroit's just kind of a dead area, and people tell me I'm crazy and there's all this stuff to do.
That's what got an argument.
Yeah, there's not much for me, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I've gone down there a handful of times.
But what if you lived in Chicago? And you've been down there enough, you've seen it all. Like why would you go to a downtown restaurant where you can go to the same restaurant in the suburbs for half the price?
I think that there's a weird nightlife thing that's kind of lost on us as we get older.
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't buy into that, but like I don't go to a downtown area just to go to a downtown area, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but there's going to be things that aren't available. Like there's a Shake Shack, for example, that's downtown Detroit. I can't get that out here, so
you can get it in Troy.
Well, I don't go to Troy. You go way out to Troy and shit too. I don't do that either. Yeah. Like you guys like to go out to Auburn Hills to go. You guys go to way more like we're going to 12 Oaks and what do you call it, the Great Lakes Crossing way more than I do. I don't do any of that.
Bill, what are your thoughts on downtown area? Is that something you want to do on a regular basis, or is that just kind of?
Well, I think it depends. I agree with Charles. If you're talking about downtown Detroit, I just don't frankly think there's enough to offer to justify wanting to go there on any kind of a regular basis. The thing with Chicago, and I think this is kind of when you talk about restaurants that you can go to, but you can go to somewhere else, and the thing about cities like Chicago is that the people that live in the city and spend time in the city tend to be really elitist about like the unique kind of restaurants or the one of a kind things, and tend to look down upon people that go to chain restaurants, for example. So they don't want to go to the things that you could go to in the suburbs. They point to these unique places. And I agree that there's still a lot. I mean, I've been here almost 15 years. There's still a lot of things in the city that I haven't seen yet, because it's not just, I mean, there's a lot more than just the Loop to look at. A lot of things that would be really cool to see. For me, it's proximity. right? So for you to go to downtown Detroit, you might have more expensive things, but for the most part, you can hop in the car 20 minutes, you're there. For the most part, for me, with the kind of traffic that you deal with on a regular basis, it's anywhere between, if you're lucky and it's off times, maybe 45 minutes to sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours by car, or you're taking public transportation in, which from the suburbs takes a while. If you take a car, you're looking at a bunch of money to park and getting around, and then things are more expensive. And so it's like, if I'm going to go to Chicago downtown or somewhere in the city, I'm going for very specific things. Like I'm past the point where I want to just go around and see everything, but there are things to do. Just for me, as someone that lives in the suburbs, the hassle that's involved with doing it kind of outweighs the enjoyment of being there and doing what you're doing on a regular basis. Doing it occasionally is one thing. I couldn't. To me, downtowns of these. What now?
You proved my point. It's overrated.
Well, no. The thing is that let's put it this way. To me, people that really, if you want to enjoy being in a downtown, especially a place like Chicago, kind of one of the larger cities, it's best experienced when you're young and single, because you're typically back then we were more willing and interested to go see a bunch of new things and experience the nightlife stuff. I mean, I'm sure Charles is probably a little bit more adventurous than both of us are with things, and he travels more. But the idea of going into the city on a regular basis from the suburbs for the purpose of seeing things is not something that most people, particularly at our age, want to do more than just every once in a while.
Well, let me ask the question then to you guys too, because I had this conversation just the other day with my wife, and we were watching a show where this chick was on a ranch and lived on a ranch. Okay, would you rather live in the country or in like a downtown city area?
Suburbs.
That's not. Okay, let me ask this again.
Okay.
Okay.
Real close.
Your option is living downtown Chicago. Let's say the price is not the option or not the issue.
No price.
So just physically your life, would you rather live downtown city center or out in the country?
So there's no price. I can buy the biggest truck I want in the world. Don't have to pay for parking. I'm going to go with the country.
Yeah? Okay. BV, where are you at on that?
I'd still pick
I'd go with the city. It's not close.
Yeah, it's not even close for me. It's the city.
Yeah,
I would hate.
I don't want to deal with that.
I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive 45 minutes to. Because the problem is Steve's going to live in the country, right? But then he's going to drive 40 minutes every day to get Taco Bell. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
you're going to live in the city, right? And you're going to walk 20 minutes to the grocery store and then walk up the fucking steps to your goddamn thing. Pain in the ass. And you're going to pay a parking fee.
But you don't necessarily have to do that, though. And if we said money's no object, right? So you don't mind paying to have a parking spot for your car.
For the record, I said suburbs first.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, I think I prefer the suburbs overall. But if you have, my thing with living on, say, a ranch, there's a whole lot of area that you have to tend to, or that someone else has to tend to. So there's not like, and the idea that you have to go a certain.
Mine's proximity to civilization. That's my thing.
Do anything.
Yeah, that's my thing.
It's a drive.
So Steve, who likes to go to the movie theater and the mall all the time, would drive like an hour and 40 minutes to the mall before he would rather have for example, downtown Toronto. If you live like by the Eaton Center, I've
never had a desire to live in a downtown area.
No, never.
Visit, yes.
Check it out and hang out and kind of for a week or two. See, I'd love to live somewhere where I wouldn't. What's that, BB?
I could totally do Toronto.
Yeah, I like where I could live somewhere where I didn't need to have a car and trust like mass transportation.
Things that bug me in life is when I'm eating or paying for something that I know I can get cheaper somewhere else.
That's a big.
And in downtown, there's a douche tax on everything.
Okay.
Even if I wanted to go get McDonald's, for some reason, this McDonald's just cost me $3 or $4 more dollars than it would in Taylor.
What do you do like in the airport and stuff like that?
You suck it up because you have no choice. But I usually don't eat in an airport.
Yeah, you try your best not that.
Yeah.
But if you're way out in the country, right? I mean, it's not just so much proximity. It's that you might have a drive to get. Let's use like fast food. You may have a drive to get out to Taco Bell, right? It might be a half-hour drive or 20-minute drive or whatever, but you're likely only to have one or two options. Whereas if you're in the city, first of all, if you're in the city and you really don't want to deal with walking to stuff and you have your car, you can just drive out to the suburbs and drive back. And if you particularly if you time it right, and if
When
you're
I
not
drive
going,
out the suburbs, I'll buy me a house while I'm out there.
well, there you go.
And stay out there.
But things like living out in the country, things like, well, what do you do?
Hey, living out in the country, I don't want to do that either.
What about internet?
It's just a question you guys proposed.
I want
Due
to lack of options.
Yeah. I mean, the country's
don't
fine. I mean, I've been up north. I went camping for a week. I've been to
But do
Birch
you want
plenty
to
of
live up
times.
north? Would you want to live up north, though? I mean, it's just
But I don't want to live downtown either.
I don't know. I'd rather have access than
Yeah, but you wipe your ass
Never
at 20s
ending.
and you don't care about shit. I'm cheap fuck. And I get cheaper shit than Billy Bob's hayseed countryside.
I enjoy, like, especially when I visit and stuff like that, I could totally live, like, in a really smaller apartment, like in a city somewhere. I'd love to. It'd be awesome.
No,
Not for you, huh?
No.
I would have loved it when I was in my 20s or early 30s, but now it'd be too much of a hassle. Unless I were single again and had a lot of disposable income. Because you get to a certain point where when you get to a certain point with the cities too, that you realize that what it's going to cost you to live where you'd be comfortable living is a whole lot different than living somewhere you can be comfortable living.
And if I'm living downtown, I'd be getting a douche tax everywhere I go.
True.
So would Stan the Lariat Hansen live in the country or live in downtown?
No, Stan the Lariat Hansen would not. But just because I enjoyed watching him in the squared circle on television doesn't mean I want to live his life.
Oh man, that's funny. All right, well that's gonna do us for our marathon.
Yeah, it was fun.
We'll be paying for this in the morning. So you can catch us on fatguyspodcast.com.
Yeah.
You can catch us on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, anywhere you can catch podcasts. Until next week, when Charles, I, and Bill will go over the world's best tag teams for all the top 30.
Are we doing the tag teams?
No,
next week?
give it a breather. Give it a breather.
All right.
But that's funny.
Just saying, I could do it.
This is Steve
And Charles.
Catch you next time.